Good evening and welcome to the close to Christmas meeting of the Goffstown Budget Committee. It is 6 o'clock. We're going to get started. The first thing on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to do roll call. Doug, would you like to start?
Present. Doug Pounds.
Doug Pounds here. Great.
Brian Mazer.
Stacy Belmore.
Lauren Dukas.
Melanie Renfrew-Hebert.
Jared Talbot, School Board Rep.
Joe Alexander.
Frank Hobbs.
Richard Fletcher from Law Person.
Laura Stevens.
Olivia Welch-Erdal.
Richard Manzo. Peter Georgiantis, Selectmen's Rep.
Allison DeCesare.
Samantha Kearns.
Beautiful. So we have a quorum. Thank you, everyone. So the first thing on our agenda is the approval of minutes from the 11/7, 11/16, and 11/30, 2023 meetings. I'm going to start with November. Has everybody received it? I know we tabled it from last meeting, so hopefully we can get these all through. We have copies of the November 30th meeting minutes. So I'll entertain a motion on the November 7th meeting.
Motion to accept.
Motion to accept by Lauren Dukas.
Second.
Second by Frank Hobbs. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Abstentions?
I don't think I was here.
Okay, Stacy Belmore and Doug Pounds abstained. So that passed. The November 16th meeting. Is there a motion on those minutes?
Motion to accept.
Lauren Dukas moves to accept the meeting minutes. Is there a second? Second by Brian Mazer. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Abstentions? Peter Georgiantis abstains. Motion passes. Okay, is there a motion on the November 30th, 2023 meeting minutes?
So moved.
What's the motion?
Motion to approve November 30th.
Motion to
Minutes.
accept the minutes. Okay, motion by Brian Mazer, second by Stacy Belmore. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Abstentions? Richard Fletcher, Olivia Welch-Erdal, Doug Pounds abstain. The rest voted in the affirmative. Okay, so we're all up to date on our meeting minutes. So on new business, we're going to start with Crispin's House, move to Main Street on the agenda, and then we're going to hopefully today finish up town budget deliberations as much as possible. So Diane, hi, are you ready?
Thank you, I am ready.
Perfect. Thanks for coming, Diane.
Thanks for having me.
Let's see. Do you have things to hand out?
I do have things to hand out.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take one pass.
All right.
No biggie. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So it looks like everybody has one of my handouts. So as you know, I'm Diane McCarthy. I am the Executive Director for Crispin's House Coalition for Youth here in Goffstown. We are your intrepid nonprofit advocating for youth and families here in town. Our mission is to encourage and empower positive choices in the lives of our young people by helping to create a healthy and supportive community. So we do that in a number of ways. We offer multiple programs of varying sizes, varying degrees. All of them are designed to provide a safety net for our youth and also a springboard as we can. We like to meet the kids where they are and offer whatever services and programs benefit them. So we do offer, if you turn to the next page, I've given you a list of our programs. I won't go through all of them. You can review them at your leisure. I know many of you are well familiar with what we offer. But I do just want to highlight a few things. We've got our Goffstown Area Juvenile Court Diversion Program. To our community's credit, that is one of the oldest juvenile court diversion programs in the state. It is, we're one of 18 accredited in the state now. We are involved with the New Hampshire Juvenile Court Diversion Network. What we do is we offer young people who have run afoul of the law an opportunity to be held accountable while staying out of the court system. It is a restorative justice program, which means we are not punitive. We are, on the other hand, looking to build assets and build skills and help these kids develop other tools for their toolbox to help them make choices going forward, better choices going forward, excuse me. So of particular note, and why I do feature this program in particular, is because over the past couple of years, Joe, I'm sure you're well aware that they have changed the RSA as it surrounds juvenile justice and changed the process around which juvenile justice. So in essence, it used to be for first-time offenders only. Anybody after that would go straight to court. What we know, though, is that diversion works much better than just sending our kids to court. We also know that statistically speaking, the more touches a young person has on the court system as a young person, the higher their probability of being court involved as an adult, which we all, I think, can agree is less than ideal for our community. So what they've done is the statute was rewritten, so now young people can come through multiple times. We are also getting a lot more involved cases. The kind of case has escalated, more challenging, more involved. So those have been our programmatic changes there. Some other items that I want to call your attention to, as you always know, we do our mental health programs, our suicide prevention programs. Goffstown is very, very strong as a community net because we have our history in this work. I do run a community series that I offer at no cost to our local people. We just did Anxious Nation, which was an excellent program. We had sold out tickets multiple times to bring people in. We had partnered with Manchester Mental Health on that. And I thought it was really active conversation and something folks wanted. I did just run an allyship program to help anybody interested understand how to perhaps be a better ally to folks in their community and families, etc. Substance misuse prevention is, again, at our root. I mean, everything that we do is designed to create those protective factors that are going to protect against the, substance misuse, mental health challenges. So even when you look at my Volunteens program, that's a service program. And we know that kids who participate in programs at school, kids who are more connected, in service with their community, have a higher rate of graduation. They are more likely to stay engaged in school, and they report better connectedness with their community and better mental health and lifestyle outcomes. The other, what else should I highlight here? Challenge Day, you guys. We were able to, after a couple years off for pandemic, bring Challenge Day back. That is a full day intensive program. And again, the roots of that, it's all to tackle what causes bullying, what causes, discrimination in the hallways. And it's been really successful. If you know anybody who has participated, a few people at this table have participated over the years. It's definitely worth asking them about. So I will leave it at that unless anybody has any questions. Of course, I am here tonight asking your support on our $20,000 warrant article. And you can see from the financials this represents about 16% of our operating budget. So by no means is it something that we just sit back and rely upon. It helps us when I'm writing grants. And that's most significantly, honestly, is, where is your support? And to be able to say we have the support of the community has been a game changer, and we can leverage there in our grant writing. And you see also, too, that we depend very much on fundraising, small donations. We run multiple fundraising programs throughout the year, all really consistent with our mission in terms of community building and healthy lifestyle. So we have got that warrant article. We have been very grateful to have some significant support over the year. It went through the last several years unanimously recommended by the select board. And in a few years ago, we were unanimously recommended by the Budget Committee. I think last year we had one holdout, or one abstention, or one against. I can't quite remember. But I will tell you this has been very strongly and consistently approved and supported by the voters, which we are so incredibly grateful for. And it's important to note, as the executive director, there's not a day I come to work that I'm not thinking, how do we best serve the citizens of Goffstown? How do we best help be here, lift us up, and make our community proud? I thank you very much in advance for your support, for past support, present, and I ask for your support.
Thank you, Diane. Are there any
You're welcome.
questions from the committee? None. Diane, do you receive any sort of state funding?
We have a grant through DHHS for diversion.
Diversion, okay.
Yep.
And what does that amount to usually per year?
Well, it's on a 2-year, we've got 32,000.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and you see that reflected in my numbers.
Perfect.
That is new over the last couple of years, which I think does come in hand with the JJ revision. That is something I know the New Hampshire Juvenile Court Diversion Network has advocated strenuously for. That was something back in the early 2000s. There were funds for that, and then they were cut. A lot of programs fell. Crispin's House was one of those that was closed, but here we are, 30 years, changing lives of kids. So no, that has been very nice and supportive to have back.
All right, there's nothing else. Thank you, Diane.
Thank you.
So we don't
Is this extra?
deliberate on this until after the public hearing on January 9th, but we're glad to have Diane here to present on this warrant article. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up is the Goffstown Main Street Program. Tina, you available? Danielle? We don't see her. Is there somebody from Main Street that can present? Go ahead.
Joe, I could kind of give you a synopsis. of
Yeah,
it.
that'd be great. Could you let us know how that went and
Yeah,
what you recommended?
The amount was a lot less than it's been in the past, and the reason why they came in and asked for this amount is this is what they paid, what it cost them this last period just for the police and traffic control during the Pumpkin Regatta. As you know, we closed down Main Street, and that required more personnel to direct traffic. So they had different people at different, and that price, it wasn't just to the town, 'cause the town gets reimbursed, but it was also some of the sheriff's department was there. I believe there was a Dunbarton unit there. So that $14,000 is just to reimburse them to help them to pay for the traffic control. That's it. It's nothing to go to their general fund or anything else. That was what it cost them for traffic.
So the article is going to ask for 14,000 exactly?
Was it 4,000? 4,000, I'm sorry.
4,000?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's it's going to be a
4,000,
warrant article?
yeah. Pardon me?
It's going to be a warrant article for 4,000?
Yes.
Does the select board have any plans of using the unreserved fund balance to fund that, or?
No.
I guess I don't know, it's $4,000, so I guess I was wondering.
No, they're just asking for the help to pay for
Okay,
we're getting a percentage of that money anyway from them, but some of the other percentage goes to the other entities.
okay.
So it's not like we're putting it in their bank account.
Any questions? Jared?
Peter, you might not be able to answer this. What's the funding mechanism for that warrant article? Is it through unreserved fund balance or raised through taxation?
Through taxation.
Thank you.
Lauren?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry, Peter, I don't know the answer to this. Did the select board vote to recommend or not recommend that article
Yes.
at that time? You recommended too?
Yeah.
Was it unanimous, if I may?
Pardon me?
Was it unanimous, if I may follow up?
Yes.
Thank you.
Stacy?
Did they
As far as
present
I
if
can
they,
remember, it was unanimous. Mark wasn't unanimous, right? Yeah.
thank you, Mr. Chair, did they present if they still have the same amount in their reserve fund?
Pardon me?
Did they present if they still had the same amount in their reserve fund?
Yes. No, they didn't get it, we didn't get into that.
Okay.
All we got into was what they were looking for was that $4,000 just to help for closing Main Street and the traffic control. And we didn't get into any of the heavy finances. Derek, maybe you got more.
Main Street did present a year-to-date budget versus actuals for 2023. They also provided the Select Board with a copy of their proposed 2024 budget. And I can let Main Street know of these questions, so at the public hearing, they can bring that information as well as what their fund balance or whatever their bank account is holding.
Follow up. I think the issue just in the past years is we've asked for a budget. We haven't gotten a budget in the last few years. So if they have that, that's great. And then just make sure, what have they used from their fund balance? And I think that was part of our questions last year as well. That
Yeah, we can, we'll send that to you electronically and then have that also for the public hearing.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, great, thank you, Peter. Okay, well, Derek, you don't have to go far. Need more stuff. So, I'm gonna let Derek go present on the, there's 2 CBAs, right, correct? And,
So there's a handful of items that we distributed this evening. The Select Board has made a change to 3 different lines. There is a compensation plan for non-union personnel. There are also 2 CBAs to present this evening. The third, we have an agreement between the negotiations team. It's just their union membership hasn't had a chance to review and vote on it yet. And then we also have the capital reserve fund. So I can take them in whichever order you like.
let's just start from the top. Go, Jared, you have some?
As a point of procedure, the Select Board has proposed their budget already, and these should be line item amendments to our proposed budget that we're deliberating. This is not theirs to actually amend and then give back to us. It is in our hands to amend it. So I would expect that Peter's going to be presenting these as line item changes in our proposed budget we've been negotiating for, or looking at for the past month.
However, the committee would like to take it.
I mean, the select board voted to give us the budget, and then they voted to make changes to the budget. So I guess if Peter would like to motion to change these lines,
I think that's what Derek said. We'll take them one at a time, and then we can go in and do that if that's the way you want to handle it.
I think that is the
Okay,
correct
so
procedure. Thank you, Jared.
my suggestion, let's go with the CBAs, and then we'll go back into the other ones. How's that?
That's fine.
That'll work with you, Derek?
That's absolutely fine. So the first CBA I would ask you, you have 2 memos. The first one I'll start out with is the Goffstown Police Dispatchers and Clerks. I apologize, I don't recall what order I put them in.
It's number 3.
It's the third one? Thank you. So this is our Goffstown Police Dispatchers and Clerks. They are getting to the end of a current 3-year collective bargaining agreement, so that will expire on December 31st. This group it covers 12 positions, 9 dispatchers and 3 clerks at the police department. Currently, the police department has 2 vacancies in the dispatchers, and they have all 3 clerk positions filled. So when the negotiation team and the select board met with the union, we had a real focus on improving employee retention and recruitment. During the last 5 dispatcher resignations, plus there was 1 dispatcher that transferred to patrol, and 2 of those we still have 2 vacancies. So as you'll see in your year-to-date for overtime, that's really impacting the police department's overtime line. There's also 1 clerk position that was vacant for 20 months, from January 22nd, when the person that was in that position was promoted within the department, and that was not filled until September of 23, and according, talking with the police chief today, he received 1 application for that job. And it was the person that is in that role now. We looked at both the data that the town prepared as well as Paypoint HR, which is the consultant that the select board used for the compensation analysis, on where the market is, and what you see at the bottom of the first page is the wage adjustments for those 13 positions. We're basically targeting the 65th percentile of the market, but we're using 2023 wage data. So we expect that with when these wages actually go into effect on July 1st of next year, we'll be closer to 50 to 60, somewhere in that range. And then on your second page, you see a copy of what the matrix is for those individual positions.
Okay. Thank you. Other questions for Derek? Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So on the first page, Derek, can you comment to why there's like a bell curve where the wages go like 38 to 59 and down to 40,000?
Yeah, absolutely. So this particular CBA has a wage adjustment on July 1st. So for the first 6 months of the contract, they will be on their current wage rate, and then their wages go into effect on July 1st, and they carry it forward to subsequent July 1st. So that $38,000 really represents that increase in the second half of the year. So in that July 1st through December 31st. When you get into 2025, their wage rate carries over, and when you compare it to the year before,
Okay.
when they're on their old one. So it's really, you've got 6 months in 2024, you've got that full year in 2025, and then you kind of have
Half a
6
year.
months.
Okay. Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
Jared?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Do you happen to know what the percentage increases are? I know that you've given us raw numbers, but what's the percentage for year over year for these?
I can have that, so we did a matrix adjustment, but you're talking, what is the position increases?
Correct.
I can have that for you
Public
at the
session?
public hearing.
Yeah,
Yes.
that would be great, thank you.
Okay. Let's go to the next one.
Unless there are any other questions, but yeah.
I don't see any.
Okay, so the next CBA that we have are the other collective bargaining group at the police department. This is the patrol officers. Again, they're coming to the end of a 3-year CBA that was previously approved. And this covers 22 full-time sworn patrol officers. Again, we looked at market data that we collected, that the Chiefs Association and the state collects, as well as information that was provided by our consultant. We focused on employee retention and recruitment, specifically because in the last year, in the last 12 months, 6 officers have left for other agencies, and 1 has transferred into another career field. So we have lost a combined 62 and a half years of experience from the force. These are not, for the most part, these are not your second and third year patrol officers. This is really your 8, 9, 10s that we've seen. Currently, there are 5 vacancies of the 22 sworn patrol officers covered by this CBA. The other thing that we focused on, prior contracts had a patrolman 1, a patrolman 2, and a patrolman 3. And the department had a merit-based system where employees could proceed through that and be recommended for merit increases. But what we were seeing is in other departments in New Hampshire and southern New Hampshire, the wage scales were much shorter. So a new police officer would get in and after 8 to 10 years be near the top of their scale, and then they'd be able to proceed to new positions. So what we created was a senior patrol officer, a master patrol officer, and then somebody would be able to move up through the ranks through sergeant, lieutenant, and so on. Again, this is 22 positions. I do not have the percentage increase, but I'll bring that to the public hearing. Thank you. The one difference here is police officers, we do not pay FICA on their wages, so you see that's a little bit different. But that's really what we have for the cost items. And then on the reverse, you'll see what the wage scales are.
Stacy?
I don't know if you know this or Chief knows this. So you mentioned non-certified here. What are we paying what is the change to the certified that we're hiring? Is it just coming in at the years of service?
So
you say start non-certified at 28, but what if we're hiring a certified officer? Are they coming in at their years of service?
Yes, yes, they would come in their years of service. The chief has the management right to place them. Yep, and then to move into a senior patrol officer or master patrol officer, there would be some minimum time requirements with the town of Goffstown, but it would be accelerated that they, you know, if you had somebody with quite a bit of experience, they could move into those roles.
Follow-up? Is it testing here for senior and master patrolling? It has to be pass the test as well, so not just yours.
Yeah, we have a process when they're put in place. Yearly, they're going to have to go through it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Same question, Derek. Bell curve, I don't see much going down in 26.
Yes.
So,
I think they were lagging the market a little bit more than the other ones, so
Okay.
we tried to get them into more competitive wages a little bit quicker.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Jared?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just, Derek, with the attrition that's occurred, is this contract really geared more towards holding on to those senior people? Or is it really focusing on bringing in new people into the organization that have experience or don't have experience?
Both. So not only did we create the senior patrol and master patrol to really capture those patrol officers between 5 and 10 years of experience, we also reinstituted longevity for all employees. And we believe that the starting salary is competitive with what we're seeing in, you know, some of the other similar-sized agencies in the southern New Hampshire region. So we tried to do both.
If I can follow up, what's the average retention of patrolmen in Goffstown for all of our staff? Is it 4 years, 8 years? Like, what's the peanut butter spread?
So prior to this year, we had, on average, we were probably about 10 years. And now we've lost some of our middle tier there, the 12 to 14 years. We have currently 3 patrolmen that just got their 20-year mark, which is phenomenal for us. But now they're on the other edge of that, and now the next closest is 9, and then we go back down all the way down. So we're on the lower curve now. So we really need to capture not only keeping our experience, but also bring some people in to keep it.
Thanks, Chief.
You're welcome, sir.
Any other questions on this CBA? Okay, and this will be presented again at the public hearing, so we'll have more. Hopefully all that information. Thank you. Go ahead.
I know that I did see that Main Street, Tina Lawton did come in. Did you want to ask any questions?
That would be great.
Tina, you want-
Hi, Tina. Just right up front. Thank you.
This is the hot seat.
Thank you for having
Thank you,
me in
Tina.
here tonight. Are there any particular questions? Do you have the information that I provided the select board to review?
We don't have any of that information.
Okay.
So we were hoping that you would have it and be able to present on your budget.
Okay. Let me see what I have.
I'm also comfortable with you, if you'd like to email the committee the budget.
Okay, I can
That we
do
can
that.
look at and at least present to us on what you're asking us
Okay,
to vote for.
okay. I do have a copy here if anybody wants to, if you want me to pass it around, but, thank you for having me. I am a volunteer for Goffstown Main Street. I've been involved with the organization since about 2019, and I currently serve as the president. A little background about Goffstown Main Street. We've been serving the village for over 20 years now, and our main purpose is to attract businesses, to support the businesses, to bring vitality to the village, make sure it's a place where businesses want to be. We provide financial support through facade grants that will help expose give a business more exposure. Our events attract patrons to the community, and we aim to heighten that sense of community through our events. Our annual events include the Goffstown Giant Pumpkin Way-Off and Regatta, which was wonderful this year, having the street shut down, and our Uncommon Out in the Common, Friday Night Under the Lights, which we just had, and we also support trick-or-treating in the village, Small Business Saturday, and carry out a large golf fundraiser at Stonebridge Country Club. All these events foster a sense of community and allow us to showcase the beautiful village. We are proud of our very active art team who carry out Art on the Wall 3 times a year, the art show-off that hangs in Town Hall, and of course their annual Uncommon Out in the Common event. I will email you, but I provided the Select Board with 2023 year-to-date actuals to budget and a preliminary 2023 budget. We've really stretched the past couple years. We've taken a lot of measures to become operationally efficient, trying to reduce our cost, look for opportunities to generate more revenue, and doing that simultaneously. And I believe we've done a good job at maintaining the quality of our services. Our biggest thing that we did was we eliminated our executive director position, operating 15 months as volunteer only. So some of the hardest volunteer work I've done, we'd be developing strategy and throwing trash to the trash all in the same night. We've utilized volunteers to a degree that's unprecedented. And it wasn't until February of this year that we brought on a very part-time administrative assistant to help us ensure that we meet our revenue goals. This person works about 17 hours a week on average. I come here tonight on behalf of the Board of Directors, asking the town of Goffstown to partner with us. We're asking for the town to cover the cost for the town services that have for police detail, fire detail, those sorts of things for our events. Those costs have ranged from $3,100 to $5,875 over the past 3 years. Again, I have a detail of those, a breakdown of those charges. And specifically, we ask for a special article request in the amount of $4,000 to cover the cost of the services provided by the town for our events in 2024. So that's what we're asking.
Thank you, Tina. Are there questions from the committee? Stacy, then Sam.
Do you know how much is in your reserve fund right now?
It's about $82,000.
And how much have you used this past year from that?
About-
It was about 250.
About 10,000 this year,
Less than
and about 10,000 last year.
Samantha?
Is the primary focus of this $4,000 to be covering a police detail just for the Pumpkin Regatta or for other town events as well?
It's primarily the Pumpkin Regatta. There's a small amount for sometimes for Friday Night Under the Lights if it's needed, yes.
Okay.
Other questions? Okay, well, thank you, Tina, and we look forward to seeing your budget too. If you
Okay.
could email that to us, that'd be great.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you. All right, Derek?
Okay. The next item I'd speak on is the Select Board has been engaged in a compensation study since June. So you do have a memo that was distributed this evening. It's a 2-page. I think it's probably the only one that has a staple in it. So the Select Board has been working with a consulting firm out of Maryland called PayPoint HR to compare the existing pay of our non-union employees to similar organizations in southern New Hampshire and just across the border in Massachusetts. Just for a little bit of background for the Budget Committee, from 2011 to 2015, this was a time when we were in a recession. It was also the time where the state stopped paying 35% their share of police, fire, as well as teacher retirement. So there were quite a few changes on the different employees. One of them from 2011 to 2015, our STEP system, where people with years of experience would proceed through a matrix, was completely frozen. Only matrix adjustments were provided, and there was at least one of those 5 years where it was a 0% matrix adjustment. So in 2016, or the 2016 budget season, in 2015, the Goffstown Select Board at that time contracted with MRI to do a compensation analysis for full-time non-union positions. MRI collected the data, presented to the Select Board in June of 2016, and the Select Board budgeted and implemented that wage scale in 2017. So when that was implemented, that wage data was already 2 years behind. We've been working off of that wage scale since 2017, with multiple years where we've made adjustments to the matrix. So the initial findings, this is still in the final classification and compensation study that's being prepared, is still in a draft format, but the Select Board is aiming to have that completed in January of 2024. But overall, the job titles are compensated 4% below the 50th percentile and 8.4% below the 60th percentile. On your next page, on the back of that first page, you kind of see, going back to 2015, that red is the town non-union wage matrix and how it has increased since 2015. Again, it wasn't until 2019 that there was any change to the matrix. And just kind of shows how it has gone through the years when you compare it to CPI, as well as the cost of living adjustment for Social Security. So what the board did on Monday the 18th, yesterday, the Select Board made a decision that currently the proposed budget, as it was delivered to the Budget Committee, includes $178,000 in wages and related costs, so that's FICA, Medicare, and retirement, for non-union wage increase. That's steps for those employees that have not maxed out, and a matrix adjustment. On Monday, the board voted unanimously to request an increase of an additional $149,166 of funds to implement the recommendation of the classification and compensation study. So this classification and compensation plan, it covers 55 full-time employees and 9 what we call regular part-time. So these are ones that have a regular schedule, whether it's 20, 25, or 30 hours a week. The compensation plan does provide the town with information on per diem or call positions as well. We just have not included that within the budget. We'll be working within the budget amount that's approved at town meeting. So I can answer any questions that the committee members might have on this.
Lauren?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So they voted to add of additional funds. How's that being funded, unassigned fund balance? For
No, that
immediate, or is
that would be,
This is the
they're
special.
asking the budget committee to add that into the operating budget.
Thank you.
I anticipate Peter will be making a motion during deliberations to do that.
I was a little confused. Thank you so much.
Peter, would you like to add anything to your
I
discussions?
can't hear you, Joe.
Would you like to add anything to your discussions?
Oh, I can tell you that this isn't, when we looked at this study and our employees, we're putting our employees in at the 65th percentile. Okay, so we're not at 100 or 80 or 90, we're at 65. Now, we figured 65, by the time it's implemented, it's probably going to be closer to 60, 55, or 60, because it's already going to be a year old. So we need to be able to keep our people and our good people, and we don't want them to leave anymore. So we need to increase our compensation and get them level to where they should be.
Okay. Any other questions for Derek? Peter? Okay. Oh, go ahead, Lauren.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Do you happen to know, Derek, what the line is on that, just so I know you gave us the amount, but where that
I'll
would
give
be
you
in
the
the
amount,
actual?
the line that we have.
So-
Go ahead.
Yeah, so you do have one additional memo These would be the changes that were being proposed by the Select Board. That second box, what we did is rather than break it up into the different departments in the different FICA, Medicare, New Hampshire Retirement, we just created a new line under admin that would be the compensation program, and that shows that additional 149, 166. Felt that that was just easier to put that additional funds there.
Gotcha.
Much like when we do a CBA, we have it in one line, and if it's approved at town meeting, what we do is a budget transfer to the appropriate departments.
Thank you.
So there'll only need to be one motion for this, not separate per department.
Yes.
Okay, great.
You want to do that now, Joe?
I mean, we're transitioning into deliberation, so I'm comfortable.
Hold on, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Can I just ask a clarifying
ahead.
question? So this is a new line
This is
under the admin section?
Yes.
Thank you, okay.
It's within the general fund.
Okay.
I guess before any motions are made, can I just explain the two other changes that are on that memo? Last night, the Select Board voted to request an increase to the merit pay line, which is also under admin, which is 41,500. It's on page 1 of your budget report. Currently, that was put in as $15,000, has been that for a few years, and they've requesting that the Budget Committee increase that to $24,000.
Why?
Because it's always overspent. So
Okay.
why not? I champion this because I don't like this budgeting the same thing every year and then overspending it. So, you know, to be clear and make it upfront with everybody, I would just as soon put the correct amount of money that we've been spending on it and put it into the budget. That way, you know what it is. And it doesn't, you know, you can see, I don't know if you have a budget, but in '22, we budgeted 15, and we spent 22.5. Last night, we brought that, we overspent it again to bring it up. So it just made sense to me to make sure everybody, be upfront with everybody that we're going to increase it, and that's what we're going to do instead of looking for funds, that unexpended funds, and then moving it over there to give the merits. $15,000 for the amount of people that are eligible for a merit isn't enough, so we increased it. We increased it to 24,000.
Okay, Jared, then Stacy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll direct this to Derek. Peter, you might weigh in. So what's the difference between, actually two questions. So the 149 that we talked about, is that just for the town hall administration, or that's being transferred or divvied up between everybody?
So that would be distributed amongst all the departments in the general fund, so the 6 departments. The second page shows what that breakdown is of employees.
So my follow-up question is, why do we still need a merit increase if this is bringing them up to the 50th percentile?
So the merit pay line is something that the Select Board has used for many years to reward those employees that may come up with a cost savings during the year. I will say that I had one employee that saved the town $5,000 this year that I made a recommendation, was happy that the board approved that last night. I also have an employee that I recommended last night that is going to be reducing one of our software costs by $7,000 annually. So that is, again, a little bit above and beyond their job description and their regular pay. So it's kind of a pool of money for those type of recommendations that are brought forward by the department heads.
Stacy.
I mean, I wish I got merit things at my job, so this is great that we do that, but you said the 22, we went over in 2022, what did we go over the years prior? Do you have that in front of you?
I can bring it up real quick. I know this year the Select Board approved a total of $20,000. They had previously done $1,000 in the spring, and then they did $19,000 last night, but I can, if you give me a few minutes, I can look at the history.
Thank you.
All set. Lauren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Do you happen to have like an average award amount? Because I'm sure this is spread, you said it's across, I mean, you can nominate people in town hall, all the department heads can like nominate employees. Do you have an idea of like an average award?
So all the employees that were approved by the select board last night. Our full-time employees received a check for $1,000. And then there were also some part-time call in the fire department that were $250 each.
Thank you.
Just to, and it's not just given out like that, it's, so these people have gone out and above. Each department head submits a letter and describes why this person deserves this merit. It's not just given out as a bonus type thing, it's actually earned. And the board looks at that and says, well, okay, we agree with that.
So the history, going back in 2021, the board spent $10,000 out of that $15,000 line. In 2020, they spent just short of $18,500. In 2019, just over $13,000. And prior to that, it was a shared pool between library. It was a little bit different, the way they used it.
Follow-up question.
Yep,
So
go ahead.
technically, 2 of the last 5 years have gone over this 15,000.
Three of the last 5 years.
And if I heard correctly, it was just this 2022, and then after that, it was like a 3,000 over, correct?
Yes.
So last year was the highest we went over?
Yep.
And how many employees got this merit?
That I don't know. I'd have to pull up.
And do you, sorry.
No, go ahead.
And do we duplicate employees? So can an employee get multiple merits?
Yes, there have been employees that have.
Still follow up, sorry, Mr. Chair. I actually didn't know that we did this. Do other local towns do this as well? Is this a common thing?
We haven't polled other towns to see how they compensate their employees in terms of merit, or we do know that there are some other towns, I think it's Milford or Amherst, has an actual they have a merit policy where they have the thresholds for, and they focus on savings that are brought forward by employees, whether it's through process improvement or some other purchasing that employees are eligible. So there are some other communities that we've at least seen sample policies for, but we haven't actually polled other communities on this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All set. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. So I'm comfortable moving into deliberations at that.
Doesn't he have another thing to go over?
So
You have one more.
I'm sorry.
jumping.
The other item that the select board did on December 11th, they took a vote to take the pool design for Barnard Park, which was a $340,000 project, and put that out as a separate article. So you will see that at the budget hearing as a separate article. The idea behind that is the board felt that they wanted voters to weigh in on that appropriation of $340,000 for the pool design, and through the deliberative session, the public hearing, as well as the voter's guide, the explanation would be that, if that design is approved, they would be coming back at a subsequent town meeting to bond the actual project, which we estimate to be in the $4 million range. At that time, we would be seeking grant funds. There is some state funds, $500,000 for groundwater. The groundwater fund, as well as the Parks and Rec commissioners, have pledged to kick in funds from the revolving fund as well for the construction portion. So the board did vote to put that out to special article, so that's a reduction.
Jared.
Thank you. Did the default change? So the default budget is going to be 50,000 or?
Nope, the default was 0 in this line.
Okay.
Yeah, the default on this one was 0 because they did not have anything approved in 2023.
So is the default changing or is it staying at 0 as well?
The default is going to remain at 0
Zero?
for this particular line, yes.
Follow-up question then, because I know that we're saying that we want to have new spending $80,000 in this line. Is that going to be for maintenance?
No, that's actually for the parking lot expansion over on the sports complex, the paving and some parking lot improvements over next to the transfer station. So it's a separate project.
Thank you.
Okay. Are we now good to do that? All right, Peter?
Yeah, I'm good with that. But that would be a new line, and I'm not sure exactly how you want to handle that. I guess we could start first with the merit pay. We're taking, that would be $41,500. And Select Board is recommending we go change that to 24,000 instead of 15,000.
Is that your motion?
Pardon me?
Would you like to make that motion?
Sure, I can't
Okay.
hear you very well, speaking, the cold.
I'll say it. Would you like to make that motion?
Yeah, please. Yeah,
Good buddy.
that's a motion.
Good guy. All right. There's a motion by Peter to increase the 41,500 line by $9,000, 15,000, 24,000. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Melanie. Any more discussion on this? Samantha?
Thank you. So I just wanted to clarify, anybody who's featured on the second page of this memo is eligible for this merit pay.
As well as there are some union contracts that we have wording that the select board can also give it to union members as well. So it's not limited to those
Okay.
employees.
I guess maybe my question would have been better phrased. Is this only applicable to the people who work in the town hall building?
No, this is all 5 departments. The library does a different program for their merit-based. They have a merit-based pay increase on July 1st. So we have not done the library since 2017, I think, when they were part of the pool.
Okay, thank you.
Laura?
Thank you. The numbers you read earlier, the amounts over the past 5 or so years, what was the highest that was spent?
I think that was this year. I'm sorry. No, this year was 20,000. So last in 2022, the board approved $22,550 in merit.
Oh, follow-up. And the board approved it, so you didn't overspend? That was the amount in there?
No, that they overspent that line.
Oh, they did. Okay.
Okay, any more discussion? Okay,
I'm sorry.
go ahead, Lauren.
I'm sorry. I'm slow. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
It's okay.
When you overspent the line, how did you fund it before?
What'd you say, Lauren? I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, and I apologize. I should probably be directing my question to Derek.
No, we're in deliberations. so-
Deliberations, okay. Thank you. When you overspent it before, did it have to come out of a special, or was it just a bottom line? You had some unexpended funds somewhere else? That's what you're saying?
There was some lines that
Yeah.
were underspent, and we just reached into those lines.
Okay.
But in order to be transparent,
Right.
I was really harping on this. I wanted to be transparent about that and put it out there the way it is instead of leaving it at 15,000 and then next year you're going to see it overexpended again.
No, I appreciate that. That's
You know,
why I was
so
saying
that was
you're spending it
The
anyway.
reason our
but-
board did that, and, everybody went along with it, so.
Thank you.
Stacy?
I am having a hard time with this jump, and that's why I asked about the numbers. So last year we went the highest, but then before that we were well below 20. I think this is a controllable line, where we can choose who gets merit badges, not merit badges. I was in the Girl Scouts, okay. Merit pay and things like that. So I mean, I would think maybe a little bit of a raise I can agree with. I just think that jumping it to 24 because we've overspent a couple times doesn't really make sense at this point. So I would propose a lower amount, but still above the 15. I don't know if that's a motion.
Well, there's currently a motion, so we got to discuss that. And if that fails, we can make another one too. Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I'm not sure who mentioned it, it might have been you, Stacy, but I'd like to know if other municipalities or towns actually have this program. Because right now I'm kind of deciding in a vacuum if it's a good program or not. So it's more of a question to see if we can get some information from other towns if they have a merit program or not. So I'm wrestling with the program in general.
Jared?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just piggybacking off, I think this is a great program. I think that this is an ability to incentivize our employees to look at their operating budget, do things more efficiently, so that the operating budget overall goes down, and, they get a reward for doing their job well. I am on the fence as well on this. I think that this is great. I'm glad we have it. If we're the first town, municipality, I'm glad that we're leading the charge on that. The 15 to 24,000, I'm kind of haggling in my head as well.
Samantha?
Thank you. I know that the state of New Hampshire offers this. I don't really know exactly what the qualifications for it are, but I know there's a governor's award that I'm assuming operates in a similar fashion. I know Derek said that other towns do it, but I think kind of in the same vein as everyone else, like I think of other merit awards like scholarships, and they don't increase the dollar amount. They just, you know, you have 10 scholarship essays and you can really only pick 5, like you just pick 5, you know, and that's my qualm is the number. So, sharing that.
Go ahead, Peter.
I don't, $15,000, and I appreciate that, and I have in the past too. But it's to the point where the number of people have stepped up. Remember, every one of our departments is shorthanded, and people have stepped up, and there's got to be some way to recognize that. And this is what we're using it for at this time. Or somebody comes up with a good idea at DPW, or, you know, we get a bunch of compliments of, you know, a snowplow driver or the scale house operator, or, you know, any of those guys. You know, you want to be able to say, you know, great job, here's, and $1,000 bonus these days is not, by the time you pay your taxes and stuff, it's not like, it's not even a week's pay half the time, so, you know, it's more of a turkey. So one of my customers gives all of his employees a turkey at Christmas. I mean, at Thanksgiving, you know, it's just a little something to say thank you. And we need that amount of money just to be able to support the amount of people that have been doing a great job.
Melanie?
Thank you, Chair. I think I'm gonna agree with Jared, what Jared said, which is, it doesn't matter if no other town does it. If Goffstown finds merit, no pun intended, in funding this, and we get a value out of it, which it appears we do, because all of the department heads are putting people up for these awards, I think we should continue it and support it. The amount of money that we're being asked for honestly doesn't seem too excessive. I agree that there could be some wiggle room in the amount, but I wouldn't say it would be more than $1,000 or $2,000. Thank you.
Lauren?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Are you hoping to just maintain the same levels of sort of excellence and reward for acknowledging our employees in the town, or are you guys hoping to increase your sort of standard merit award amount?
As I said, the board doesn't make the recommendations. It comes from the department heads.
You approve it, right?
They set the standards for their departments. And I know fire department, he sets the standard. I know Eric, he can speak to it. The standards are pretty high. They're just not given out as, you know, thanks for you know, showing up last week. It's for pitching in and doing the hard stuff.
Can I follow up? I'm sorry, I don't think I was clear, Peter. I don't really, I guess, understand the process of it. The department heads nominate someone, it comes to the select board. Does the select board vote on a fluid number for a merit award, or is it always at that standard $1,000, $250 for your per diem? But the select board, it sounds like, is in charge of setting that amount. Is that correct?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
So in the past,
The
department heads have made a recommendation for the amount. The ultimate vote and decision is with the select board.
So they say yay or nay? You
And-
say,
and-
I
and
think
the-
this is the value of this work.
Yes, yep, and they'll modify it as they see fit.
And
I get a little better
We
now.
have modified it too. So we, you know, if they came in with a higher number, we've modified it to a lower number, or in, I remember one year we raised it for somebody, you know? So we thought they did an outstanding job. And a lot of this came up during COVID because of the situations that were going on and how people had stepped up to work out everything. And that's why you see that it might have gone up a little bit, but we're not talking a lot of money. I mean, in the big picture, it's $24,000, and it's only $9,000 more that's already budgeted.
I'm going to let Frank go, and then Stacy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just like the atmosphere that a merit-based pay and incentive creates or fosters. So in general, I love this concept. I see it as an investment in excellence in our people. And I agree with Peter. I don't think it moves the dial on the budget, but I think it can move the dial on an employee who's going to put in extra effort or go the extra distance, or like the other person you mentioned, save the town, what, $5,000? That's a few merit increases saved right there, so I like it. Thanks.
Stacy?
I just want to correct something Samantha said. I work for the state. We don't give out merit pay. There's one governor award, and I think that makes a good point to what you're saying here. There's one pay that they have to choose for the whole state who's going to get that award. So I do agree that there is an incentive to people, Frank. My problem is that if someone's going to save us $5,000 and we're going to overspend to give them rewards, it seems counterintuitive of a budget. So I think, yes, there is place for merit, and I think I agree. If we're the only town in the state of New Hampshire that does it, that's pretty awesome. But my follow-up question to this is, do we have a policy, and how are you avoiding favoritism within our community?
The board has not adopted a policy.
Is it something you're thinking of doing?
That would be a question for the select board.
Because I think that's where I would worry about people getting in, if people are making recommendations about money, and you're choosing somebody to get $1,000, but not choosing somebody else to get $1,000, I'm wondering have we faced any issues with that?
They submit a.
I understand.
Okay,
Yep.
and they have to spell out why they're recommending this person and the achievements they've made.
Right.
All right?
So on what basis do you make the decision? What policy or what grounds do you follow?
Well, there
to
is
make
no,
the decision?
as Derek said, we don't have a policy.
Right.
Common sense is, who, if somebody's kicking in and somebody's doing the work, I mean, if it takes a policy, we could take a policy, but that would be so out there. I mean, you would be covering so many different things. I mean, we could.
I feel like moving forward, this makes more sense with the policy because of the reasons Stacy stated. Here and there, and you decide, and there's a vote is okay until something happens and it's not, and someone questions or someone, there's discrepancy. So I'd like there to be more of and I understand there's a formal process of the submitting of the recommendation and that, but formalized, I guess, a little further to move forward. And I like that we have this. I don't like that we want to raise it $9,000.
So first thing to respond, there are 3 members of the select board here, so I think they hear you and they hear that this might be something. I mean, I also agree, like there should be some more description around who qualifies for it and for what reason and all that. I mean, we're not in charge of that purview
No,
per
I
se,
just wanted
but the motion is on the floor for $9,000, so I guess I'm wondering, let's debate that motion.
Okay.
And then if we don't agree on a number, come back with something else. So is there anybody else that'd like to comment on that? Okay, so motion by Peter, increase the line by $9,000, $15,000, $24,000. So all those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed? Brian Mazur, Stacy Belmore, Laura Stevens, Olivia Welchard-all are opposed. Any abstentions? All right, motion passes. So next on, Peter, do you have another motion?
Yes. We're putting, as Derek mentioned, we're adding another line, and it's gonna be 13,000 or 13 million, whatever that number is.
We should know what number that is.
41, where it says 41,500, this one's gonna be 41,400. We're adding the line in there. Okay? And that line is gonna be an additional $149,166.
Okay, so your motion is to add a line,
Right,
100.
41,400.
It would be
Yes,
the 4th line down
Yes.
on the first page,
Okay.
if it existed.
to change it
And
to
that would be the
149,166.
166,
166,000
which is the additional for the compensation plan.
for the compensation plan. So that was motion by Peter. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Sam. All right, let's discuss. Peter, do you have something to add before I?
Well, we spoke about, as I said, 65% of,
Danielle texted me it was 60%. I just want to
Yes,
clarify.
it's the 60th percentile.
Okay. Okay. Jared?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Derek, this is going to be a new line added to the budget. Is this going to be a self-sustaining line going forward in our budget, or is this a one-time hit?
This would be a one-time, in this budget, this would be one time. It would not go into default budget. And what we would do is we would be doing a budget transfer similar to the way that we treat CBAs, where we would actually distribute it to the individual departments in the proper lines.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Jared?
I'll just ask, along those same lines, so we're adding this line to it, but we also have merit increases already baked into the budget. So we're going to have both of those going forward in this budget itself.
So currently in the budget, there is $178,000 in wages and required benefits. That is for a matrix adjustment of 3%, as well as steps for those employees that are still eligible. We have a majority of our employees are actually at the top of the, so they're there. Rather than giving a 3% matrix adjustment in those steps, what we would do is the board would use that 178,000 plus the 149 together to achieve the wage recommendations to get employees to that 60th percentile.
So I just need to follow up. So this is for non-union members, because union members, they'd already be covered on other things. But if we look at something along the lines of the library, they do have a pay increase year over year, and that would still be in the budget. So we would be getting them this raise, if you will, to bring them up to the 60th percentile, plus the additional merit we already have in the proposed budget.
No, the 149 is on top of what the library already has in there. The library trustees have not had an opportunity to review the draft report, and I understand that as it's a draft compensation, they'll be discussing that as non-public at a future meeting.
But we have other groups that also, I just said the library because I know that we talked about them at length last time, but we also have others like EMS, that would be under fire potentially, solid waste operations. We have other non-union items that do have wage increases in the budget, and we're keeping those as well.
Yes, they just wouldn't be used the way that we had it designed. It wouldn't be a 3% matrix adjustment. What we would do is you'd be placing them onto the new matrix.
Thank you.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor by Peter, seconded by Sam. Any more discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed? Abstentions were unanimous. Thank you, Peter. Do you have one more motion?
one more, and that would be on CIP, line 51,300. And that would be taking the study of 340,000 and moving it to a separate article.
Okay, so your motion, if I hear you correctly, is to cut line 41,300 by $340,000, the CIP line.
51,300.
Yep.
And reducing that by 340,000, which would leave $80,000 in it.
Okay, is there a second to that motion? Second by Stacy. Any more discussion on this?
Where can I find this on the matrix? I just got lost with.
Oh, on the matrix?
Yeah.
It's going to be under the, so the one thing I will note, the matrix, when the matrix was presented, it had the entire pool construction. So it had the design as well as the construction, and I think it was in there for about $4.1 million. After the CIP matrix was completed with both CIP and the planning board, with consulting with Danielle, myself, as well as the Parks and Rec commissioners, we broke it into a 2-year project. So that's where you don't see just the 340,000 in the matrix.
Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed? Abstentions? We're unanimous on that too. Thank you, Peter. So at this time, I'll open up the floor to anybody else that would like to make motions or any more deliberation on the town budget. I think the plan is tonight to send that to public hearing. We do not have to send the CDAs and such.
Samantha had a question, and I'm not sure if I touched on it before. DPW CBA will bring forward at the public hearing. Again, we do have an agreement in principle with the negotiation team. It's just their membership hasn't had an opportunity to vote on it. So we will have that. And as soon as they vote on it in the board, we will send that by email.
Yes, the email would be helpful, so we're not voting on it the same day.
Absolutely.
All right, go ahead, Laura.
I just have a question. Can we go through kind of in order, department by department, so we're not all...
Wait, you don't want to hop around again?
Yeah, that was a lot.
Okay. All right, well, let's, sure. Are there any motions on the administration, town hall administration, such? I'm gonna give everybody a minute. Go ahead, Jared.
I'll start us out, I guess. Looking at the third line down, elected officials, I'd like to make an amendment to remove the proposed and match the default.
What was that?
So the proposed budget would be $27,839.
I did hear that again.
Okay, so we say it again?
Yeah, I just coughed at the same time you were.
So the proposed budget for the elected officials will move from $27,648 to the default, which is $27,239.
What's that $400 difference?
I'll second the motion.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
Okay, so a motion by Jared to reduce line 41,250 in town hall elected officials from 27,648 to 27,239, seconded by Sam. Peter, can you tell me, it's $400, can you tell me?
Well, no, you tell me what specific, are you just basic, or, I mean, because that,
Well,
elected officials, do you know who that is?
Yes.
Who?
That would be the select board for this, as well as all other elected officials that go to the town hall.
So-
But we already have the precedence that we put at the school, that the elected officials would remain zero at the school. I'd like to apply that to all of our elected officials across the town.
Okay.
Just for clarification, we do have elected officials under the election division,
That's the town clerk
Yes.
and the moderator?
as well as our supervisory checklist. So that's-
Checklist, okay.
So you're just specifically looking at that?
Oh, I'll be going through all the lines, but this is the first line that we have on the page.
Okay. Good, Stacy?
Do we have an answer of what this 400 is?
I was wondering what the $400 is, yeah.
What's that represent?
So this was a 3% increase on July 1st.
For select board members?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, any more discussion on this? Seeing none,
Wait, did we, who's second?
Samantha did.
Oh.
So we can talk about it.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
We're debating 3% for the select board stipend, so. All right, any discussion? All those in favor of Jared's motion, please raise your hand. Those opposed? Stacy Belmore, Lauren Dukas, Melanie Renfrew Hebert, Olivia Welcher et al., Peter Derjantis, and Allison DeCesare. I think we're tied.
Motion fails.
Motion fails.
Motion does fail.
You have an odd number.
Do we have an odd number today?
We had an abstention.
Oh, I didn't vote. Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I also abstain.
We had 2 abstentions. Would you like to vote?
Nope. I'm abstaining from this because I'm kind of confused on what the goal here is.
Okay. Okay, motion fails. Any more discussion? on town hall budget. Brian?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. On page 11, it's 191-0000-271-100. It's the SNHPC dues. I'd like to make a motion to strike that line item.
What is that? It's an HPC.
Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission.
Okay.
They're the regional planning organization.
Okay. There's a motion by Brian to reduce that line to 0, right, Brian?
Correct.
Okay. Is there a second? It's right here. It's right up top. It's this one right here.
There we go.
I'll second that for Brian. All right, discussion. Brian, would you like to speak on that?
Yeah, I think in the last conversation, I know there's probably some minute value, but if the argument is we're getting vehicular traffic studies, we get that through other means. As developers come with applications, we get those studies. So I don't see the inherent value in spending 12,000 plus for dues, unless I'm mistaken.
And you're on the planning board. Can you talk about, is there a relationship there between the planning commission and the planning board?
No, if the application comes in and there's a development, then it's always per our procedure to actually have a traffic study done. So we're getting that insight, that information through any kind of subdivision or development.
Okay.
So unless there's other information or, I guess, value there, I'm open to hear it, but right now I don't know the other value that we're getting for this dues.
Before I entertain Sam, Derek, can you give us some more information on the benefits of the town for these specific dues?
Yes, in addition to traffic counts, they are a regional planning organization. So they take the lead on the 10-year traffic, the DOT traffic plan that goes through GASSET, the Governor's Council on Intermodal Transportation, I think. So they are the lead organization on that. They also, any developments that go to the planning board in Goffstown or any other communities that are deemed a regional, a development of regional impact under the land use statutes, they become involved with that under statute. They are also involved with the comprehensive economic development strategy for the area that includes both Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission and portions of Merrimack County, Concord, Hooksett, and some other communities. They also administer Brownfields grant program for the area, so they do more than just traffic counts.
Okay. Samantha?
I guess my question may be directed more towards Brian. When a new development comes in, doesn't that development pay for the traffic study and not the town?
Yes, it's on the applicant.
Okay.
Oh, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, they provide traffic counts on arterial and other roads regardless of whether there are developments there. So they maintain a database. That is one of the services that they provide.
Okay.
It's not the only service, but it is one.
Okay. Any more discussion on this? Laura?
Derek, thank you. If this line were to be cut, can you think of any right off the bat sort of ramifications that would change?
We would probably have to reach out to Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission and see what options we would have. Especially the biggest one is really the regional planning offices come out of the land use statutes and state law, so they actually do have some responsibility. Again, that involvement with the 10-year NHDOT program, and so we would have to see how that relationship would be impacted if we did not have funds to pay the dues.
Lauren?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, I mean, a cursory look, which anyone can look up for the I mean, they do a lot more. They're talking about economic development, they're talking about community planning for sustainability. They talk about resources for each town's developing their master plan, where you, if you're part of the association, you can go to that association and say, help me develop our town's master plan. It looks like they talk about bicycle paths. It looks like they talk about your regional housing needs for affordability. So this isn't just traffic studies. And whenever the development does come to the planning board, the developer does not do a soup to nuts traffic report. I've been through this a couple times with other developments. They look at the bare minimum, basically to help their case on the planning board, not necessarily the case for what would be best for Goffstown. So it's really important that we have independent collaboration with another another organization that we're paying dues and fees for. So I feel like this is essential resource for a town.
Richard, and then I'll go Peter.
Looking at the past, in '22, they only spent, what, $453. In '23, they've only spent $1,510. Is there other outstanding bills this year?
We might be talking about different expense lines.
I think you're on the wrong line, Richard.
Oh, next page.
Okay.
Yeah, the top line.
Top line. Okay, while Richard catches up, Peter?
Go ahead.
I think that's our dues. I think maybe that's the confusing thing. But I served on the planning board as a selectman's rep, but quite often Southern New Hampshire planning was referenced, and not just in traffic counts, but as Lauren was saying, and other things, that the corridor studies. They've done a lot to affect. I thought we hired them to do some updates on our regs, right?
They have done projects, but that is not part of the dues
No, but I'm just
portion.
saying,
Yes.
that
Yep.
they have other services that we've used, and I don't think it would be a good idea to alienate them from our town, because we do use them. I wish Joanne was here to tell you how much she uses them, but yeah, that wouldn't be a good idea to bail from them.
I will just point out that Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission does provide the town with a list of services and the hours that are spent towards Goffstown, and it appears annually in our annual report. So if anyone wanted to look at that, it's got the different services they provide.
Yeah, so they're spending the money.
I would just say that at this time when Goffstown is actively trying to drive more community development, economic development, and Joanne and her group, which I am a member of, have been working really hard to find out more about what we need in the town. I think it would be not beneficial to the town to take away a valuable resource at this point.
Okay, any more discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of Brian's motion of cutting line 72-100 to 0, please raise your hand. Those opposed? Opposed is Stacy Belmore, Lauren Dukas, Melanie Murphy-Hebert, Jared Talbot, Laura Stevens, Olivia Welcher, Richard Manzo, Peter Georgantis, Allison DeCesare, and Samantha Kearns. Frank Hobbs abstained. I feel like we should revisit these rules next year. I feel like I'm like reading off over. All right, motion fails. Is there another motion on town hall budget? That's up until line 14. Oh, sorry, page 14. I give the committee a second. Derek, I have a motion. No, I'm not gonna make a motion, but I have a question regarding election devices. Is that something that must be implemented this year, or is it something we can put off another year?
So I think I hope that we had some information that was distributed by email to the Budget Committee members. We believe that our current vendor, LHS, that has the 5 units that we currently use, they have promised support through the end of 2024. They have not promised any support beyond that. And as we would be potentially doing a town meeting in 2025, if we move the funding into 2025, we may not have those devices supported by the vendor at that time. So the best case scenario, so right now this is in the CIP portion of the budget, but it would be my recommendation to maintain that funding in CIP.
Okay. Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As a follow-up, I guess my concern with that too is, so I know the maintenance is good through 2024, but I also don't want to be a community where we're the early adopters. So I want other communities to kind of work through the technical issues and challenges they may arise. So I'm torn with this one. I'm torn with that particular new ballot machines, because I understand maintenance may not be there for 25, but with new machines, usually presents new challenges. And I don't want to be a community where we adopt that and we're working through it in real time. I'd rather learn from other communities as they're going through it.
And I guess I'd have to I probably should have asked a better question of our town clerk. They programmed the cards that are actually used to count for every election. So I don't know if they're just going to cease maintenance of the machines or if they're going to cease programming the cards that are required for them to actually work.
Okay.
So I can get that clarification from the town clerk.
Go ahead, Peter.
No, my concern on putting that off is if something does happen, we don't have the time to make a decision in 25 because it's only a 3-month period. So, and that gives us no time to get the machines in here and practice with them and use them and make sure and I'd hate to have to wait till the last minute to make sure we're learning how to use these machines.
Stacy?
Just a procedural question, why are we talking about this right now?
Well, I just asked a question, it spurred more
Okay,
questions.
I think we
so-
should keep going with the
Yep,
actual
I'm
budget.
okay with that. Yeah, we're not debating anything. So anything else on town hall? We able to move on? Okay. What's next? I need to go back to my sheet. Police department. Any motions in the police department? Oh, I mean, you can come up if you want.
Figured I'd just
Are you
join the
assuming
club.
that?
Just in case anybody had questions, I'm here.
Just to clarify, we don't
Go
have
ahead,
to,
Samantha.
we don't have to motion to put the CBAs into.
Nope.
No, okay.
You don't.
I didn't think so, but then I didn't want to.
The committee will have an up or down vote after the public hearing on the CBAs themselves. Brian?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I think I have a question for Chief, and it's pertaining to police, your CIP with the 3-year cycle for the cruisers.
Yes.
Now, I might have asked this question before, but what's the potential hardship of going to like a 4-year cycle versus a 3-year cycle?
So, I guess it all depends on just the maintenance cost and also how much longer we're gonna run these vehicles out in the street. The hours go up, the mileage go up. And like I said, we've kind of honed in on this in the last 10, 15 years. My predecessors have kind of really figured this out. It seems to work for us. I know that the cycles where we weren't able to get vehicles, it's caused our other vehicles to kind of be extended. The mileage goes up, some breakdowns come down. A couple years ago, we sent a vehicle that literally transmission fell out of it. It was an older car. We had to get that replaced, and then it was on the cycle to leave anyways. I can tell you, as I told this board, the CIP committee, and the select board, I know I keep saying this about the COVID cars, but we are seeing our newer cars are actually causing more problems than the older cars. But with that said, some of our older cars are always needing maintenance. And some of the issue with the maintenance is parts are going up, the cost of those expenses are going up. We tend to send some of our minimal maintenance over to DPW. They're overworked, understaffed as well, so we're at the mercy of them. So sometimes we have to send it over to the either Unique or Auto Fair and have them work on it, which of course that labor gets included in that cost. So really, there's no definitive answer that I can give you, but we've been kind of narrowing in those 3 cars. And the biggest concern I have is this is the officer's office for 12 hours, and we need to make sure we're giving them and providing them a really good place so they can serve our community that much better. And the last thing I want to see is what I saw in a neighboring community where they didn't vote to get their cruisers fixed and literally saw 2 cruisers driving away in a tow truck, and that department only had 1 cruiser to serve their community because that community chose not to do that. A lot of dynamics there, but that's kind of what I fear that. I don't want to see that. That's where we're at. I mean, we could test it and see where it goes, but at some point, if we go over budget, I'll be asking the board to transfer some money, because we got to keep them on the line.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Brian.
Yes, thank you.
Peter?
Just to piggyback on that, we tried that quite a few years ago, and it didn't work out. And we have a normal progression for these vehicles too. So if you keep them another year, as they go down the line, they're going to require more maintenance because they're getting older and older and older. I mean, those cruisers go from front line to the back line, and then they'll go to DPW, or they'll go to Parks and Rec, or they'll go to Town Hall for the building inspector. So those older vehicles will take more maintenance if you keep hanging on to them.
Right.
So our progression's been pretty good lately on it, so I hesitate to change.
And Chief, you've had no problem, or you've gotten your vehicle on time recently, or have you run into the supply issues?
No, every year this year, the last few years, we have always had an issue.
Okay.
Whether it's the vehicles, we can't get the vehicles, whether it's getting them later than anticipated, and then our supplier for the outfitting has had issues with their supplies. The 3 cruisers we bought this year that was allocated CIP in March, when we got that vote passed, we ordered those right away, and we're just getting them on the line now. Meaning they just got finished up. Excuse me?
To be built.
No, I'm sorry. We're just getting them at the police department. They're finally done, and they're online, meaning they're ready to be in service, and we ordered them in March.
Okay.
So we kind of fight that a little bit, yeah.
Okay. Anything else in police? All right. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Right. Doing this. Fire department, EMS, let's look at that briefly. So the chief followed up during the after our public hearing, the chief followed up with more information. Thank you for doing that, sending us a memo. So are there any motions in the fire department? I'll give the committee a second. I need a second too. Okay. Do we see my progression? Okay, are we good? All right. Let's move to DPW. Adam's not able to be here tonight, but Derek can help answer some questions if needed. Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I have a question for Derek. It's on page 27. It's 275 under street sweeping. Can you provide the latest actuals for 23?
I can, if you give me a second, thank you.
What line are you working on? I'm sorry.
Street sweeping on page 27.
Yeah.
It's 45275.
Like halfway down the page.
Right in the middle.
It's right in the middle.
So the actual right now is at $9,955, but he, Adam also has an encumbrance for $9,820.
Okay.
And I know he went to the board a couple meetings ago. He had some overruns in some of the road construction as well as sidewalks maintenance, so he had underspent quite a few of his lines to make up for those increases.
Okay, thank you.
Laura?
Thank you. Derek, on page 31, line 45930, recycling removal. Oh, maybe it's not a question. It's just a motion. No, I'll make a motion, actually. I move to go, to take the 171 and knock it down to 125.
Okay, so there's a motion by Laura Stevens to reduce line under DPW line 45930 relative to recycling removal from 171,000, which was the department head recommendation, to 125,000. Is there a second? I'll second that for you. All right.
No, I guess I'll
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So I do want to make sure I understand ramifications of, because I based that number on the actuals and then some increases and some math I did. I feel like that would be sufficient, but that is a huge jump, so I didn't know if there was something I'm not considering that does, in fact, definitely need to be considered.
Yeah, so I will say that these year-to-dates are through October 31st. Looking at the actual, he's actually overspent that line. He's at 126,310, and there's with recycling removal as well as tipping, bulky waste. All those are going to continue through the end of the year, and we probably won't see all our invoices till the second or third week of January before we close out 2023.
Okay.
Any more, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to ask. I feel like this is one place where I know it keeps going up and there's very little control we have right now until, we're going to be year to year. I feel like this is a place we can cut, but I want to make it a reasonable cut so we're not just going over by a lot. But I kind of forget if I can amend now or we have to close that out.
Would you like to amend your motion?
Procedurally. Yeah, I'll amend it to 135.
Okay, so the reduction is from 171,000 to 135,000. I can't do math in my head, but.
I'm sorry, Derek, where were we again today?
45930 recycling.
126,000.
126.
So it's again, it's at, the actuals are at 126. Adam has kind of messaged me. They estimate about 2,100 tons. It's a fluctuating rate throughout the year.
Yeah.
It's currently at $67 a ton, which is $140,700. But again, that rate and amount fluctuates throughout the year.
Yeah.
Hi, Adam. How are you?
No, Adam is listening. Adam is unwell, but he is listening, so. He's furiously typing in.
You said 171 to 135, right?
Yeah.
36.
Okay, so that's a 36,000. That's what I was wondering. Okay, so $36,000 delta. Okay, any more discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor of Laura's motion, please raise your hand. Those opposed? Samantha Kearns, Allison DeCesare, Peter Georgantis vote in the opposition. The motion passes. Okay. Any more on DPW? Laura?
I have a similar for the next line for
Okay.
bulky waste with my math, but also Derek and Adam from the ether speak to this. But I would like to cut that from 87 to the default.
So your reduction is on 45,940 under bulky waste. The reduction is from 87,500 to 80,500. So it's a $7,000 reduction. Is there a second to that? I'll second that.
And again, if I can
Go
ask
ahead.
a similar question
Yep.
of Derek.
Yeah, I'm just pulling up the next year budget entry. Adam's very good about putting quantities in there. And let's see. So this is for construction and demo. Again, he's basically put a note in that the latest rate tonnage increased significantly in 2020. We had a lot of people stuck at home that were doing renovations. He's got it figured on a quantity of 700 tons with a unit cost of $125 per ton. Currently, that account is at $80,099. Again, looking at it, my guess is we have some invoices in this week, but those invoices run anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000 or $5,000 an invoice. We may have a couple more coming in.
Okay. Okay, so Laura made the motion. Any more discussion? Jared?
Derek, this line also has a revenue attached to it, isn't it? So when somebody goes and drop off bulky waste, they pay a fee for that bulky waste, don't they?
Yes, they do.
So it offsets. So if the cut is made, it.
So my follow-up would be, is there any increase, not that I'm proposing one, it wouldn't be us to do it, are they increasing the bulky waste coefficient?
So we review our fees every year, so when the new board is elected in March and April, we bring those fee recommendations to the select board, and the select board did make quite a few fee changes to the transfer station in May of this year. So there were increases this year, and Adam always bases those off what his construction, demolition, removal is based on.
Okay, thank you.
Peter?
Derek, could you go through the numbers as they are again? Do you want to come?
Yes, so the actual to date is just over $80,099, and he did 700 tons at $125 a ton for $87,500.
So I would say 87.5 is pretty much right on the money. Because you still, you still have the bills that are gonna come in from this month, so. I mean, you can cut the line, but then you just gotta overspend it next year.
Yeah, no. If that's what it's like currently coming in, then I'll retract.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
thank
Laura
you for
withdraws her
that.
motion.
Yeah.
Okay, any more motions on DPW? Laura?
The next line, tipping. Do we have actuals as of today? I'll start with that, if that's okay.
So currently, his actuals are just short of 340,000, 339,513. And if I look at the detail information for that line, second. So again, he's got, hold on. Yeah, he's saying on these lines, as well as the bulky waste, as well as the tipping, he still anticipates there's probably about 8% of bills to come in over the next month. So he's got, though he has just over $52,000 available in this, he does anticipate additional bills coming in.
Austin.
Danielle, do you have
chomping at
something
the
to
bit.
add?
I know it's a bit unusual, but since we have Adam messaging us, I'm just trying to relay some information. He indicated that when he prepared these budget numbers, he used $75 per ton, and at this point, the rates are in the low 80s per ton. So we're actually under budgeted if they stay at their current rates.
All set, Laura?
Yeah, I think so, thank you.
Okay, good. Stacy?
Can I ask this question? Oh, I'm gonna ask the question, you can tell me if I can or not. So even with 8% on the 339, he's at 368 anticipated spending, correct?
This year,
For this year, but he's budgeting for 411, correct?
yes.
So I would like to make a motion to bring this line 45960 from 411,722 down to his default of 392,150.
Okay, so the motion by Stacy to reduce line 45,960 tipping from 411,722 to 392,150. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Laura. Discussion. Stacy?
So I'll just bring up the fact that I think he did a great job of like planning for this, and thank you, Adam, but I think if his numbers are correct and he's saying he's saving here, then we can just stay where we're at. It looks like he's still gonna be under for my math.
Okay, any more discussion? Laura?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I know Adam's not here, but during the presentation, I recall him saying that, and it's in his budget at a glance, that solid waste was up 12.4% was the majority of that, not the fact that all of our rates are going up, almost all that. I thought he had said the majority of it, but I don't recall. Majority of the 12.4% increase on solid waste was because of the fees are going up, and that's why he's overshooting it, so it's not gonna line up on actual so much. Anyone? No?
Sounds about right.
Sounds about. So, okay, I'm just checking, because if it's 12%, then it's not far off.
Stacy?
He just said 8% when he messaged in.
He
still
said
has 8% left, so that would be at 368,000, so he's still gonna have,
In this year, but we don't know what the rates are gonna be until
Correct.
April of '24.
and they could be lower.
They're
They
not.
could be.
They could be.
They could be higher.
They could be higher, yep.
Could be lower, could be higher.
Right, the landscape that was painted.
Danielle, would you
was
like
not.
to add something?
So I was just trying to make sure I
Yeah.
understood the comment about the 8%. That's 8% of billing left, not 8% of what has been billed.
Right.
Okay.
So I did my math, and someone can correct me, add 8% to what we've already paid.
No, 8% of the year left. So you wouldn't be adding you wouldn't take the total and add 8%, is that what you were doing on the math?
Yes, because you said there's still about 8%.
Of the year to bill, so you'd have to take the average of all of them, and then extrapolate.
Can you do that for me? I'm just kidding.
So we're talking.
I can work on it, but I was just trying to, I heard the comment,
okay.
I wanted to make sure I understood where you came up with the math.
Any more discussion on this? We're talking about $20,000.
I'm still gonna leave my
Yeah.
recommendation, because I still think that's a pretty decent jump compared to where we've been. He's projected that,
Okay.
392. Still believe my motion.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of, I'll restate it, just for the record, of Stacy's motion, cutting line 45,960 tipping from 411,722 to 392,150. Please raise your hand now. All those opposed? Lauren Dukas, Melly Renfrew Hebert, Samantha Kearns, Allison DeCesare, Peter Georgantis. So that motion passes. Okay, any more motions in DPW? Brian?
I have more question. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Derek, going back on page 28, 690 bridge repairs. Do we have any actuals for this year?
For
Bridge repairs.
Page
6, okay.
Yeah, 690. Huh?
What page did you say?
28.
690.
It's on page 29. That's why I couldn't find it.
28 on mine.
I was on the wrong.
Oh, you are on 29. There is a PO out for $10,000.
There is.
There's a purchase.
There is?
Yeah, it says right on here.
Yep, so that
Oh, it
PO
is?
is still outstanding.
Okay. But could you comment to like prior years' actuals? Like prior to 2022?
I guess I'm struggling on this. What years do you want? I guess in the future, we can just do like the school, not bring the database with us,
Sure.
This is, so in 2021, 9,521. Prior to that, a year of 1,200, 12,000, 5,000, 4,000. It depends on the bridge and what, so the budget is also varied quite a bit.
But the projection is for next year, there'll be another PO for 10,000.
Correct.
Okay, anything? Go ahead, Brian.
Well, I think based upon what Derek mentioned, I'd like to make a motion to reduce this line item from 10,000 to say 5,000.
Okay. So Brian makes a motion to cut line 60090 bridge repairs from 10,000 to 5,000. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, second by Frank. Go ahead, Derek.
I know that Adam has presented to the board that they are going to be preparing for major infrastructure improvements on Henry Bridge Road, which includes the entire deck as well as the steel underneath. That is a significant design, and that is either going to be a portion in 2024 as well as may go into 2025. So that's a pretty significant. They did the abutments a few years ago where they rehabbed those, but now they actually have to get into the bridge deck. And that'll be coming up in the next year or so.
Brian, are you all set? You're all
I am.
set? You made your motion. Okay, Stacy?
Brian, I just want to know what would be your reason to cut out the bridge line? Feels like a dangerous line to chip at, so I guess I'm just wondering, because
Yeah.
he rattled off numbers, he didn't really say that budget for that $5,000 year could have been their budget was only 5,000, so
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if you
Well, I
have
think-
information that we don't.
Well, at first glance, the actuals don't really support it outside of the PO, but even prior years' actuals are still not 10,000,
So I will say the one problem with our report
Yeah.
is those 22 actuals, once they go into a carry forward status, once it is an encumbered PO, it does not show on this report.
Okay.
So he may have had $10,000 encumbered in a PO. Once that goes into a carry forward status, it does not show on this this report. I would have to,
Okay.
so.
Bridge repairs cover a lot of different things, and one of the things he's been trying to do is some of these bridges need to be painted, so they could be used on that. That could be a $10,000 project on its own. So if you run into, we know we have bridges with issues in the town, and you have to have some funds there to fix it when something comes up. Could be as simple as just putting guardrails along a bridge, or replacing a bridge deck. But you still gotta have the funds there to do it. When you come into the winter months, right, and now you start running snow plows up and over the bridges and stuff, sometimes there's damage, especially like to a guardrail or something.
Yeah.
And, you can count that as a bridge repair. So I'd caution you to, let's not, 5,000, right, we'll find it someplace else, but then you're not gonna have an accurate accounting of the repairs if you take the money out of the bridges and then he finds it, has to get it from someplace else.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So if it's not there, we can't spend it, you don't know it, and then next year you're in the same situation again. Well, you didn't spend it. Well, no, because we had to take it out of another line because we didn't have enough. I caution you on doing that.
Danielle, did you have something to add?
I just wanted to bring up some new information. At the select board's meeting last night, they voted to accept bridge aid from the state. However, one of the conditions of that is you cannot supplant budgeted funds, which means you can't cut your bridge aid and then use the grant funds to fix the bridge. So those funds have been accepted by the board and they're held separately so that they can be carried from year to year and used only on qualifying bridge project into the state program.
Okay. A motion by Brian.
Well, based upon that information and some other information that I'm not really super happy with, or I'm still wrestling with, I'll like to withdraw my motion.
Okay, you're gonna withdraw.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Brian.
Yep.
Any other motions on DPW? Okay. I think we've spent a lot of time here. Let's go somewhere else. Adam will thank you.
Poor Adam.
Sorry, Adam, it's not personal.
Let's move on to Parks and Rec. Anything in Parks and Rec? I know we reduced the CIP portion. What else do we have here? Just give the committee a minute.
That's a pretty small budget. He runs
I
pretty
know.
tight ship.
Okay. If I'm going too fast, please let me know. Library. Danielle, I know we that $50,000, that's still in there, right? So we can,
We have 50,000 from the last meeting. as an
the addition, okay. Anything else for the library for? Okay. So with that, I'm gonna leave the rest of the CIP special articles and stuff. We don't make recommendations specifically on those. We will on January 9th after our public hearing, so. Is there a final number? Oh, Jared, go ahead.
You sure you don't want to take another look at the fire department?
I know, they got
Failing the Christmas Just a question on CIP. Those aren't going to be in the general warrant, or those aren't in the operating budget warrant articles. Those will be its own separate articles?
No, it's part of the operating
It's in the
budget.
It will be in
budget.
the operating budget.
Yes.
So,
We have a
let's
new
just
number.
speak now.
Of the operating budget?
Yes, when you get that to Peter, I think we're almost there. Jared, did you have anything or you all set?
School related or school town related?
We're not talking about the school.
Yeah, it's on the agenda.
Oh, after that, okay.
But I mean, I think we're going on town if you want.
No, we're finishing up the town. We're finishing it up. Okay. I think we're waiting to get a final number for Peter to make a motion. Let's take a 5-minute break. We're gonna we'll be back at 8:03. Okay, it's 8:08. I'm going to call the meeting back to order, and I'm going to call on Peter Georgiantis.
I'd like to move the town's operating budget of $29,300,126 to the Budget Committee public hearing.
$29,300,126.
126.
Okay.
29300,126.
Okay, so the motion by Peter is to move the town operating budget in the amount of $29,300,126 to public hearing. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Melanie. Any discussion on this? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed? Abstentions? All right, we're unanimous. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
And thank you,
Thank you
Derek
all.
and Danielle, for getting us that number after the changes. Okay, so now I would like to call on, there's two more things I'd like to discuss tonight. It's regarding the school side of the budget. We're finished up with town. I want to call on Ryan. Ryan, are you prepared to present? Okay, I'm going to call on Ryan Bump to present on a petition warrant article that was filed that we will have not a vote on today, but after the public hearing, we'll have a say in the expenditure.
Hi, everyone. I'm not Ryan Bump.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm Sarah Tollefson, 41 North Mass Street. And in May of 2022, after the Robb Elementary shooting, a group of Goffstown parents got together and decided that there might be some small things that we could do to make a difference in our town and make it safer. And so what we did was we spent really countless hours researching best practices. And we've had some small successes, and I would say what we're hoping will happen is one of our bigger successes, and that's night walks. So we have it here. Would you like to see how it works?
Yes.
Right. So.
Ryan's actually my Vanna White.
Ryan Bump, 209 Monarch Ave. So this system's already in Manchester. The school's in Manchester. Going to be an academy really soon in Derry, and I believe Dunbarton also has the system as well. So it's already in the state, and there's already 4,000 other schools across the country that have this system in place. Basically, how it works is, so this is the door here, and it can swing inside or outside. It doesn't matter how it swings, but these brackets are already pre-installed on the door already prior to the incident. The teacher, when they hear the alarm activate, would retrieve this kit from up above. It sticks to the wall with some sticky tape, and they would grab the device from inside the kit and then just marry the door to the floor, and it would be secured essentially.
So we're asking for $13,000 to be raised by the town. That is $1.41 per resident. And that $13,000 will pay for one of these locks, not installation. It'll pay for one of the locks for every classroom door, the door that leads into a hallway for every class in all of the Goffstown schools. In regards to installation, we do have a contractor who is licensed and insured who has offered to install them for free. That's Jacob's Ladder, I think he's in Goffstown,
Yep.
yeah.
He's the father of a child who's in school and a contractor in town.
So, in theory, there is no cost to installing these night locks. As Ryan said, there's 4,000 schools across the country that have them. We got the number for doors because Ryan had gotten a figure for doors for Stop the Bleed kit, so we just used that figure to decide how many night locks we'd be purchasing. There was a shooting in Oxford, Michigan in 2021 where they had night locks installed, and it's really, the story that I read about it was actually separate from night locks. It didn't have to do with them. But the person came out of a bathroom during a hallway transfer time and did unfortunately kill some people, and people retreated into classrooms. The teachers put in the locks, and the narrative that I read was that teachers very quickly implemented locks on the doors that made it so that there was no other casualties. It withstands 2,000 pounds of force, and as you can see, it's at the bottom of the door, so you can't like break the glass and just reach in and do a lock. And we all know that there's locks on the doors. That is already true. It's a lot harder to reach down, to know, and then to reach down and grab something on the floor. So, does anybody have any questions?
Okay.
Can you show the door this way?
So, we have on the wall.
Okay.
And it just lives there. This is, the door would swing in or swing out. And then when the alarm goes off, the teacher grabs this and slides it into place. Like that. And it just goes in and it marries the door to the floor.
I do want to say we, for the petition, we really had, it crosses political barriers. It's bipartisan. It's not one side that feels very strongly about the safety of children at schools. We all want this. And when we put the petition out, I just put it on my front porch on a chair just one weekend, and I put a request out to a small group of people, and there was over 100 signatures with zero effort. People across the board with lots of different political views. So there's a lot of community support.
And being fiscally minded, we thought that it was appropriate to go out and beat the pavement and try to find a contractor, and we were able to find this contractor, and he's doing it for free, which I think is a huge cost savings to the town. Pinkerton has budgeted $9,000 for the installation of their locks, so that's approximately how much we'd be looking at in savings.
Okay, I'll start with Peter and then we'll go
I just
forward.
wanted to get Chief of Police
Yep, I think that's
opinion.
good.
Yeah, I was gonna say something.
No, I was gonna put, if you didn't,
I was too.
going
No.
to.
I was gonna ask the
Chief?
fire chief. I wasn't going.
You're belaboring the hell out of this.
I will say this, this is a subject that we have talked to the school board and non-public about. We've had a lot of conversation with this. I, as the police chief, am going to tell you that I think security for our schools is really, really important. I think that our school has done a really good job of where we're at in the school district. Most of you know that I'm a father here as well as a police chief. I've said my piece to the school board in non-public. They know where I stand with this. I have a really, I don't know that I want to say anything in public because I've talked to them in non-public, and I think to sit here in front of this board right now would be inappropriate to go against what we've talked about in non-public. But I will tell you that this group of parents are dedicated to our community and are really looking at different opportunities for this school. And I think it's a good thing to always explore new techniques and new things. But I will say that we are always moving forward in this community, and we always need to explore new techniques. But I can't really comment in this because I've talked to the school board in non-public. So I think that would be inappropriate.
It would threaten the safety of our community as well by mentioning that on TV. So thank you for that. And I also, for public disclosure, the state provided the town with over $100,000 in school safety lock devices, I believe, last year or the year before.
Those are Columbine locks.
No, it was in the last budget. So this state has we've also spent a significant amount recently on this as well, just to disclose that. I'm going to thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
Without revealing any more information.
I think I was next.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Stacey.
I thought we were.
You were next.
I just have a very strange question on this. Is there an issue with it getting clogged with all the dirty kids that we have in schools? No offense to
Great
dirty kids.
question. And so we've done our homework. How I learned about this was from the Manchester SRO, the Manchester Police Department. And my contact over there, did reach out to the principals of some of the schools in Manchester, and they said that they've had no issues with waxing, stripping. If stuff were to get inside here, you could just simply pick it out with, a putty knife or something once every year or so. But no, I haven't heard of anything in particular. And again, 4,000 school districts, I think if it were a chronic problem, we'd know it by now, and there'd be some sort of fix for it. But just with a little bit of routine maintenance from either the teacher or custodial staff, I think it really works well.
This is not meant to be a secret either. This isn't a secret strategy. All of the students would see that these are installed at the school if they were installed. And I'd like to think that they're probably a deterrent because they will know that they're very quickly effective at closing a door and keeping it shut.
What this does is it buys valuable time. So this is a barricade, it's not a lock, it's a barricade device, which is a little bit beefier, I think, than just a typical handle lock. Those combined buy valuable, minutes maybe, until the good guys can get there and neutralize the problem. It's a deterrent, it's a visual, deterrent, but it's a layer to keeping our kids protected from the bad guys.
Stacy, are you all set?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so next up is Laura.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, let me know if this is not the time for this question, but what, the money the state gave last year, what was done with that?
I don't think we should disclose specifically what was done.
Right, of course.
But
Sorry.
during our tours, Scott mentioned a couple things, but
Okay.
it wasn't. Go ahead, Ryan.
I don't believe that in talking with the superintendent, I don't believe that those were, that money was earmarked specifically for barricade devices.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was more control.
Cameras and
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a few questions. Would the rivets on the outside of the door be like that?
Yep.
Or would they be hidden?
So they would be, like this. So there's a screw that goes through, and then it would secure on the back of it, which even if I assume you're leading towards the bad guy maybe attacking the rivets.
My follow-up question, is it, probably not, but if you shoot it, is it?
Great question. So Manchester PD went over to the in Epping 6 Hour Academy.
Yeah.
They installed these in their training building that they have, and they hit it with everything that they had: shotgun, sledgehammer, handgun, and it held up. So I feel confident that it's one of the best products that is made commercially.
Okay.
My contact in Manchester thought it was good enough to bond the money to outfit all 22 schools with it.
Mm-hmm.
So even if, to your point, they did attack the bolts, which is a real possibility, that's one less bullet, one less shell used to do damage to the children.
And one more follow-up. So, to your point, this is hypothetical. What if a bad actor gets into the room?
Great question.
And puts that barricade down?
Absolutely.
What happens
right?
then?
So, not to get into the minutia of tactics, but safe to say that this product comes with another product that allows first responders to rapidly get into the classroom if needed. That would only be in the possession of fire and police.
Can you share what that is? I mean, is it?
Yeah, it's a device that would slip under the door and manipulate the lock out of
Kind of
place.
pop it up.
Exactly. Okay. Right. So again, even if somebody had that device somehow or somehow fabricated that device, just the act of needing to bend down, insert, slide, and be efficient with that maneuver would take valuable, maybe an extra 10 seconds, 10, 15 seconds. I don't know how many bullets, well, I do know how many, but it's a lot of lives saved potentially just even having to overcome that device.
Okay. Thank you.
All set?
For now.
For now. Okay. Olivia and Frank.
I'm going to be careful how I ask this, but do Do the doors in the school district currently have any kind of barricade device outside of a standard door lock?
No.
Thank you.
Frank?
When we look at protecting our kids, we buy insurance for our cars and our houses and life insurance and health insurance. To me, this is a no-brainer insurance. You know, I'm sure going through everybody's minds, at least in part, is what can this help? Or, you know, I hope I never use my life insurance this year. I still buy it. It's because insurance is designed to protect what you can't afford or don't want to lose. And to me, whether or not we had to pay for installation or not, to me is a moot point. This is a no-brainer.
Thank you.
That's it.
Yeah, thank you.
Lauren?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know that Governor Sununu at one point had established a task force for recommendations for what we can do within the state to help with school safety and gun violence. There's a lot of legislative recommendations. It's like a 70-page document or something, right? Were these locks very specifically listed out
So,
for facilities recommendations?
So great question. That task force that you're talking about was in 2018 that was published. That task force is 59 recommendations on there. And they don't name night locks, specifically. They do talk quite a bit about hardening the building and adding those layers in. They don't call out this product in particular, but it does reference for sure.
But devices like these are in line with the
Exactly.
governor's task force of those recommendations of here's how you make your community and your schools safer.
You talked with the fire chief about this also?
I have spoken to him. I don't want to put words in his mouth.
The fire marshal has approved multiple dozens, I think, of variances in the state of New Hampshire to have them installed.
So that's a good question. So that's a really good point. Is prior to these being installed, if we were, lucky enough to have the approval, we would want to get the approval of the fire and police chiefs, or a fire and police representatives, and then we would apply for those variances, which have again been issued all throughout the state, for permission to install these.
When there's an incident, we'll call it an incident, that department, EMS, and the police department are the ones that have to go in there and make sure everything's okay.
Absolutely.
So, I want to make sure that they're on board with it. I wouldn't want to support something that they don't support, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So, and the chief indicated he's already spoken his piece with the school board. I'm actually gonna, for a minute, if you're okay sitting here, I'm gonna call on Jared. Can you give us a little bit more of the discussion, not the non-public discussion, but the discussion publicly that happened on the school board and what your recommendation is?
The school board recognizes that this is a citizen petition, and of course, Ryan and others have written to us several times. I can't get into say what our security plan is, because that is supposed to be in a non-public setting. We're in consultation with both chiefs. You heard from the chief of police. I don't know if we want to talk about have the fire chief also come up, but we are concentrating on the governor's plan, and we are working towards all of those recommendations that the governor's put out. That would be our non-public statement that we have.
So you, and to clarify, maybe Danielle can help, do you have a vote on this, or it's just us and the select board?
We would
On
have
the
a vote
ballot.
on this, on the ballot.
This is a petition to the school board, not
To
to
the
the
school
town.
board, okay, so.
Correct.
So this-
The budget committee and the school board, have you voted on this?
No.
Okay.
We won't be voting on this until after public session, where all conversations can be had.
Okay. Great. Other questions? Melanie?
Just a comment. I would really like to say how admirable it is, all of the effort that you and your family, because I know your whole family is involved in supporting the community and helping in any way you can. I'd just like to say thank you from me for the efforts that you've made and the time you've given up and the outreach that you've made. You at least, at this point, have at least brought a lot of awareness and a lot of opportunities for us to look at.
Thank you.
In the community.
It's a team effort for sure. There's multiple people on the group, or who's involved in the group. So it takes a village for sure.
Specifically, the $11,000 figure, is that a hard number?
The $13,000.
$13,000, that's
So-
a hard number that you've got a quote on?
It's 12,000.
Yeah, 9, but.
Just under, it's not just under 13.
Yeah, and the reason for that is back in 2019, we did a Stop the Bleed initiative where we brought the Elliott in and got about 14 grand worth of Stop the Bleed kits from them. And so back then, I received the number of kits that we needed for outfitting each classroom in the district. So that gives us a rough number of classrooms that we need to work towards. So if you times the amount of the unit times the amount of classrooms that we have in the district, that is how we get that number. Plus, it's free shipping, and obviously the install's free.
Okay. I'm going to call on the fire chief. Chief, you have anything to add?
So, good evening. Like the police chief, I sit on the safety committee with the school. We've spent some time with the school district and the school board in non-public session. Professionally and ethically, as a fire chief, I can't endorse any one product. We have looked at this device as we have looked at other devices. We've talked about the level of security in the schools of where we are now. Someone mentioned about it's not that overall school task force. It's actually, each school is given a full security evaluation by Department of Homeland Security, and they make recommendations. We even brought in the Director of Emergency Management to a school safety meeting and had a dialogue with them on, how much security do you add to a school? And you already have one system, Columbine locks. Is it good to add more? Or how many additional devices do you do to where it gets to a point where it's restrictive for everyone? The petition proposes $13,000, which won't even come close to the number of doors within the school district all around. There's a number of other issues that the facilities manager has made clear, including there's some floors in some of the schools you can't put the device in. So I'm not talking this device down, okay? I'm a parent. I fully believe in safety of our schools. But the one thing that stuck with me was when we met with the Director of Homeland Security, and he said, everyone's concerned about school safety. But his recommendation also was to address some of the outstanding safety issues identified in the reports that when the schools were looked at for safety overall. Doesn't mean the schools are not safe, but there are certain, there are certain elements which provides for overall security in the school. And he says, as you reach certain benchmarks, then you should work on all these other issues also. So that's where I stand with it. Again, I'm not against the device, but there's a lot of things that need to be considered too, okay? And it's not just 13,000, on and on. The school district's got policies on bidding out on projects, do you focus, on one item or not? So it's gonna bring some interesting debate. I applaud, parents for getting involved with school safety, but know that it's also being looked very closely by public safety, the school district itself.
Thank you.
In neighboring towns, it was really just a decision by the police chief who thought that it was the safest thing to do, and the PTA paid for them to be installed. It actually never even came to meetings like this. It was just a decision that was made for the good of all of the students.
A couple of things. I think the chief was alluding to the floors. If there were an issue with the floor, Nightlock has another device that is the Nightlock 2. And what that does is it goes onto the door and attaches to the door jamb. So, where there's a will, there's a way. And if there were an issue for some reason with the floor bracket, there's another device, same kind of concept. When the alarm goes off, you simply install it there and it attaches to the frame of the door, per se, right? And what I like most about this product, and I'm sure that the school and the chiefs get pitched all the time for different devices, gimmicks. What I like about this particular barricade device is it's already being utilized in New Hampshire by the biggest school district in the state, and so on. So it's already deployed, it's already been used, it's already actually in Oxford, Michigan, has saved lives. So that's what I like about it, and that's why we're pitching it to you guys. And as far as falling short on the amount of units for the 13 grand, if that were the case, I'm talking about primary doors that lead from the classroom into the hallway. I'm not talking about other doors that are. I'm trying to protect the kids inside the classroom so they can retreat if they're in the hallway out or back into the classroom and barricade. And if we did fall short, if my calculations were wrong based on the Stop the Bleed kits, if my calculations were wrong, I'd be more than happy next year, the year after, to go towards the PTA or try to fundraise some way to make up that few, is it $1,000, is it $2,000 difference?
Our group would be happy to make up that money.
Yeah, if we in fact did need to do that. So,
Stacy?
I just want to say, I did a quick Google while we were sitting here, and there's some great reviews on this, and there's also a wealth of information of why people have concerns with this. And I think even reading those, and I still think it's a great product, so I think if people really want to educate themselves, they can look up this product, and you'll actually see some of the cons, some of the pros to it, and then we can really make a decision based on each community member whether.
Right, and we would be thrilled to have that conversation with anyone who had questions later or who are listening tonight, if they do look on these two products here.
When I just Googled it, it gave 3 articles to talk about pros and cons from security experts, and I can see some of the concerns for law enforcement, but again, it's depending on where you're valuing at that point, and some people are valuing certain parts of this, and then that's why I think it is kind of a touchy subject, but.
Yeah, so they do actually make commercial devices that basically will not let you into the classroom. They're like the club for doors. They will not let you in. I talked to the Manchester SRO, the school resource officer, and he didn't like that. For the simple fact that if the bad guy got in, there's no chance of getting in.
Yeah.
Whereas this has a certain layer to it, but it's defeatable by properly trained, properly equipped, first responders. So,
Lauren?
yeah, and again, I would definitely look online. There's lots of information.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to comment that I'm a little disappointed that the Budget Committee was not able to get a straight answer, it seemed, from either one of our very esteemed safety members in here, and I'm confused.
I'm gonna push back because we need to allow them to do their job and keep our students safe, and if that means that it needs to be in non-public, it needs to be in non-public. So they are not elected officials. Their opinion matters, but it also matters for the right board. So the only thing we should be considering right now is the $13,000. The school board has gone into non-public to talk about school safety, but our job as a budget committee is to talk about the dollar figure.
As far
so
as
that's
their
why I
merits.
asked specifically if that's a hard number, what the number is. But school safety wise, we should not. That's not really our purview.
Right,
That's their
but,
purview.
right, but it lends into are the people that are, our department heads in our town think it's a good idea, not to push back at school policy, but it leads into, is this an appropriate amount of money that we should be recommending?
And that's for us to decide.
Right, but that's why I'm saying the information I feel is valid. Same reason we asked DPW, like, for their figures, same reason we ask for information.
I am okay not putting them on the spot. I think that's perfectly
Oh,
valid.
yeah, I wasn't trying, I apologize. I wasn't trying to, not that it's within anyone's purview to compel.
Right.
But I was just, it makes the conversation and understanding what's going on a little more difficult.
Stacy.
And that's kind of why I said that, because I had a feeling, and I'm married to a law enforcement officer, that there are probably concerns for the safety of our law enforcement officers when this is in play, and our fire chief, our fire department, if there's fires and these are set up. So I don't think they want to publicly say that, but there are things I think when I Googled that came up pretty clearly as to what those concerns would be. And I think that's why you need to measure where you are in the scope of, is it the large school safety and then it's more difficult for fire and police, or do we want them to get there quicker and there could be.
So, I totally agree with that. And
Ryan, I'm going to let the committee speak.
Oh,
That's
sorry
okay.
about
Laura, and then Peter.
Thank you. So I think I get what you're saying, and I understand there's only so much they can say, feel comfortable saying, et cetera, or legally even can say. But it's hard to have the conversation without having the conversation. I know our focus is the 13,000, but we need to know what that 13,000 really, the value that it brings.
It's
Like,
to buy devices
No.
for classrooms. That's
I
all.
am aware what it is buying, but we need to know, in my opinion, we need to know exactly all about those devices to know if because otherwise we're just recommending a number attached to nothing.
Okay, so.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, let me put this out there. We have a public hearing coming up. We have an opportunity to debate this further after the January 9th public hearing. This is just for them to present on the product. And now we can move forward. We don't have to take any action on this. We can move forward, and I think as a committee, we can debate this on January 9th after the public hearing.
And
Yep.
And is that public or non-public, or should it be
All of our
non-
meetings are public. We have public meetings.
Right, but if there's discussions we want to have that can't.
We are not a policy committee. We don't discuss school safety as a
Right.
policy. So our recommendation is around the money, the monetary value. We do not discuss school safety. We don't discuss school policy. We leave that up to the members that are elected to do that. What we can discuss is the dollar figure. That's it. So if you think you need $20,000 to accomplish the goal, and we decide to do it, like, each and every member can vote whatever they feel is right, but we don't discuss the policy, and I really hesitate to discuss this further in a public setting. And I don't think that the 15 members of this board, I trust the school board that they've already talked about this behind closed doors in non-public, and I think talking about it further really just doesn't help the situation. Peter.
This is a petitioned article, right?
Yep.
Okay. So, as you said, you're only talking about the $15,000, but we still need, as a board, to find out if the school supports this. We can go ahead and say, yeah, we support it, but if the school doesn't, well, then there's really no sense us supporting it. So we're going to have some feedback from the school, whether they support this or not. And they'll have that, they should have that for our public hearing.
Yep. Olivia, then Sam.
Kind of going off what Peter was saying, I think, I completely understand that we're not in the business of creating policy, and I don't want to create policy. But when we're talking about, say, a line item for Department of Public Works, we talk to Adam or we talk to Derek, talking about spending $13,000 or $15,000, whatever the amount quoted was. I think it's important some way that doesn't conflict in security issues to get information from the school district to get information from fire and police, whether they're of the opinion that it's either the $15,000 well spent, or if it's $15,000 possibly creating a more hazardous experience. You know what I mean? I'm not.
I understand, and I think if the police chief and the fire chief came out and said, absolutely, this is something that's definitely needed, they would have told us that. That's my summarization of the
I think
situation.
we killed this thing to death.
What?
I think we beat this to death.
I do too.
I have a real question.
Go ahead, Sam.
Does the $13,000 buy both of these or just one of them?
Just one. So
Okay.
it would, in working, if this were to pass, I'd be more than happy to work with the school board or the chiefs. Maybe it's 100 of the floor brackets and it's 90 of the side brackets, or whatever the case may be. But they both work really, really, really well, and it could be either or. But it's one of them, it's not both.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go Frank, then Melanie.
I would just say that it's clear a lot of people in here, this might have been the first time you've seen this. It is not the first time I've seen it. I did research it. I researched other products. I would encourage everybody here at some point to research this. Through my research, I came to the conclusion that this can be a very valuable tool. There are potential shortcomings and challenges with floors or entry and exit. Yes, but you cost benefit it. That's it. So I would encourage everybody to do your own research, and then we won't have a lot of these hypothetical scenarios. So,
okay, Melanie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say, I kind of feel like this is, to go off what Joe said, this really is one of those issues that we should really just be looking at the money and find out, is this the cost of what this would be if that warrant article passes? Because we don't have the additional information, and hopefully we'll have some additional information before that the public can be aware of and still keep our schools as safe as they need to be.
I would say that's the price of what we are presenting to you, of the classroom doors that lead out into hallways. So if that passed, and then the school decided that they wanted to do it and wanted to add more doors to it, then the cost would change. But as presented.
Thank you. So as I was saying, if the cost seems accurate for what they're saying that they would be getting with it, I think that is the only focus we should have on it right now.
Okay. Thank you, Melanie, for agreeing with me.
You had to get that on record.
Do you know what the cost is for just one full setup?
It's
$65.
Yes.
And then do we know, you said there's 13 exit doors, or like the 13 classroom doors?
No,
So-
I'm sorry.
190?
Thank you.
Yeah.
That covers that. Do we know, does anyone know, like, how many, do you know the breakdown of all the doors in the, because I'm wondering it.
Okay.
Well, what I'm saying is, what if this decides that they want to do the interior doors as well to every classroom? Like, what if, because isn't that something that could be proposed, a higher number?
Yes, and we can make those amendments during deliberative, but I really hesitate to bring up the amount of doors we have when the school board has already vetted this stuff. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry, but I didn't go to the school board meeting for
Well,
that.
it was closed, so I didn't
Right,
either,
so
so-
that's why I'm asking the question, Joe. So like, can we get this information before this hearing to make these decisions if this is enough? If the answer is those doors are only going to protect the outside, and maybe we can ask for more money so that they can't get through the interior doors, maybe that's something that we should consider.
Point of order, we're talking about a $13,000 bill that's come before us, article. Not how many stores, how many spaces or anything. They came to us with a special article for $13,000. That's what we're talking about, not the number of doors or number of units needed. They're asking for $13,000. They've discussed what that $13,000 is going to cover.
Fair.
The debate should be over on this. I don't understand why we keep beating it to death.
Well, because some of us have questions, Peter. So you just presented that nicely, so thank you. I understand what you're saying.
I'm gonna, and I want to give every member the ability to speak and be entertained. So, Jared, do you have something to add?
I'd just like to say thank you. I know that both of you have come to the board several times, written several emails. I always find it great, on a personal note, that people of the public are reaching out to us as elected officials. And if they have not said it to you, thank you for everything that you're doing within the community as well.
Thanks. Laura? I saw your hand.
Yeah. I don't want to beat it to death, so.
If you'd
Thank
like
you.
to speak, you may. Well, just go call.
Already beaten.
So, Mr. Chair, if there are no more statements or comments about it, again, we don't have to vote on this. It would just go to public session. I do encourage any presenter to come for this to let the general public know if they haven't seen it. I imagine they'll have a robust discussion as part of that.
And I anticipate that a lot of the questions that were asked tonight are going to be brought up in the public hearing, so.
Do you have any advice for us to try to get this out prior to the public hearing, to try to educate those people on?
May I make a
presented to us for the money,
suggestion?
I don't know.
On the day
I
of the
don't-
public hearing, to set up out in the hallway and show people how it works.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That would be, other people,
Good advice. It's great.
that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Doing it on the floor isn't gonna work. You're gonna have to set it
Then
up
don't let
outside.
them in unless I vote for it.
Thank you.
Okay, Jared, the last order of business, hopefully, is the SAU capital reserve fund.
So I am passing out, there are 2 pages, please take one and go about. So the school board, for the past number of years, we don't put our CIP items in our operating budget like the town does. We call out a separate CRF, capital reserve fund, almost like what we do for the fire engine. So what you're seeing, and I'll go through, one of them has the history of how much money's gone into the CRF, and I'm not going to get too much into it. Hopefully I have enough over there. If not, I got more sheets. But what you'll see is the one with the kind of the lines, and then you also have the warrant article. So this is what would show up on the school ballot.
They're the same.
Which one do you need?
They just alternate, yeah.
Send it down. Oh, there we go. Send it down. How many? 2?
one.
Just one. So does everybody have the 2 sheets? Okay. So again, this is just the language that's being used for the public session to say, we'd like to continue to infuse our capital reserve fund with $250,000. This, by language, is saying that this would come from any unassigned fund balance that we would have at the end of this fiscal year. What you're seeing on this, and this is really where I want to concentrate on, this is where we've actually spent the money. So we've been doing this since 2019. We were approved by the Budget Committee to not only set up the fund, but give the school board the authorization to spend from the fund. And so what you're seeing here is the first year that we put it in, we did lockers at the middle school, we did partition walls, we did bleachers. These are all things that are on our CIP. So if you actually go into that multi-page CIP listing, you'll see not only the police, the fire, the pool that will be there now, but you'll also see other things that the school's asking for over the next 7 years. So the reason why we're putting this together is we just want to show the empirical evidence of why we need this and what we're spending it on. On the back page of it is what we have within CIP right now over the course of, I believe, the next 2 years. So we're asking for $250,000 infusion to this, even though our CIP is roughly $1.5 million. You're probably saying, Jared, these numbers don't match up. You're absolutely right, they don't. We have to prioritize what needs to be done, and that's really where it comes down to, is we don't actually put in a warrant article.
I'm going to ask if the crowd can keep it down, that'd be helpful. We're having trouble focusing. Go ahead, Jared.
So we don't actually put in to say, we want to spend as one warrant article, $40,000 for a fire panel at the middle school. We don't want to put in a second warrant article that would say $52,000 for cafeteria replacements. The reason why we don't do that is because there might be other things that are higher priority due to wear and tear. So that's why we've asked for that CRF. And again, what I've tried to say is this is why we need it and how we've spent it in full transparency. So we are asking for that $250,000 again, and I'm sure there's many questions.
Yes, questions? Whoa, love it. Okay.
Sam,
Sam, go ahead.
Can you just address why you don't put some of these things in your operating budget? Like, is there any concern besides the fact that it might get voted down?
So the simple reason is no means no. If the proposed budget fails and it's in the operating budget, we cannot spend money to replace that.
Okay.
So it's for things that must be replaced, right?
Well,
Am I defining this?
so if we put it in our operating budget and say we increased it by $40,000 and we had a line item in our operating budget to say this is for the middle school fire panels.
Right.
If for some reason that wasn't actually passed by the voters, we can't spend $40,000 on that fire panel because that's what made up our operating budget.
Well, it's a bottom line budget, right? So
Yeah, I don't know where that comes from.
Right, so
I
like,
disagree.
that's my confusion, right? Is that like, it would have to be that the entire school budget was not passed.
Correct.
And then
goes to default.
we would go to the default, which I would assume would not include, like, I'm just gonna use the very first thing on this list, right? So the middle school's fire panel costs $40,000. If it was in the operating budget and then the operating budget passed, it would go to the default. This wouldn't be in there. So then you just, like, maybe this will sound
replace the
silly.
fire panel.
We couldn't replace the fire panel.
That's not true.
That's not true.
The bottom line budget, you can still replace the.
We would just have to-
We'd have
You
to
would just
transfer
have to
money
find those
from
funds
another line
someplace
item
else.
to do
Okay.
it. But again, we make, I know that we use the term bottom line budget, and I've always hated that term, but we make up a bottom line budget based on our forecast of individual lines that we look at and reconcile. We as a board, this board as well. So you know what's going into our operating budget. If you thought that we were too high on some things, we reduce them as part of our motions, and that would reduce the variance that we have to be able to do a line transfer.
Right. And I guess I just want to say that, like, I see all of these projects. I realize you guys have them based in priority, but just in our tours of the schools, like, I find some of these things.
Well, I'm sorry not to.
Go ahead.
If you can see, this is the Scott Gross list. This isn't the approved board priority list.
Oh, okay.
So just want to make sure we throw that out there as well.
Sorry. But so, like, I think some of these things are more important than some of these other things,
Yes.
right? And I guess I would think that, like, we would want to put some of these things in the operating budget. Like, I feel sad that everything is stuck in the CRF because some of it seems so, like, I know when we talked about the bleachers and I realized that's like number 13 on this list, and it seems like that would be something that we would want to fix, you know?
So the policy, or should I say, if I want to say it's policy because it's not a written policy per se, but the thought process of the board has been, we don't want to put it in the operating budget just because the operating budget is so large. We want to kind of make this an a la carte to say, this $250,000 is going to what we've targeted at CIP, which has been approved by us, been approved by the planning board, been approved by the CIP board, so it's been presented to different levels. And they've all agreed to say, yes, these need to be on CIP as a planning tool to expend these for future capital replacements.
Okay.
Stacy, then Melanie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you guys are asking for an extra $250,000 to the already existing capital reserve, which is what?
So if you go back on that page, you'll actually see at the very bottom, we have $209,595 currently in there, but we haven't spent much for this fiscal year, and we are looking at things to do in the summer. So that is one thing that we have talked about, because we've already said, hey, let's do heating controls. Well, because of the awesome administration that we have, they said, hey, wait a minute, we can get a grant for this. Let's not take our CRF funds and put on heating controls, let's use a grant money for this. That's also another reason why we don't want to put this in an activity that isn't going to be active until July of next year. So that's because we're kind of, our fiscal year starts July 1st of next year and goes till June 30th, right? Or is it June 31st? I can't remember. But that's how our fiscal years run. So things change, and that's why the CRF is helpful. It also helps us go through to say, hey, something might not be on CIP, or it was, like the generator. One of the things that we're looking for, we can't use CRF money for a generator because of the way that the grant is, but okay, we're not going to use CRF, so let's see if we can have another thing that we can knock off. So that's why we're always knocking off on CIP. The way that we used to do it, before I joined the school board, is they would just have their unreserved fund balance at the end of the year and be like, okay, what do we need? And I know that this board, the members that were on the board at that time, were very upset at that. And this is kind of giving them, this board, the ability to see what we're trying to spend on.
The old slush fund.
I will say, I will say just based on my historic knowledge and not that I support this particular article, it is way more transparent now than it has been in years past. This is my 6th year on the committee. It's way more transparent. Melanie,
Never mind.
do you agree with me again?
There's no good answer to that, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Brian.
I would.
Thank you, Chair. So I have a question for Jared. So is there a working definition for the capital reserve fund?
The capital reserve fund, you can think of it as anything that is, we can't use it for new additions. So we
Okay.
can't use it for,
A new building.
yeah, a new building. We can't use it for an addition. It can only be replacing capital expenditure or capital items that we have
Right.
here, like desks, like stairs. So I think the superintendent has said anything that if you could lift up the school and turn it over and shake it around if it fell out,
Yeah.
that's not necessarily something that you could have as part of the quote-unquote CRF, or maybe it could, because these chairs would fall out and these
Yeah.
tables would fall out, but it can be used for that.
Okay. No, as a follow-up, I know my constituents is concerned, like, I understand critical infrastructure, right? I totally get that, replacing a boiler or something like that, but when it comes to like the theater seat replacement, there's a lot of commotion about that because that was a lot of money, and they were complaining because a lot of seats looked really good still, but yet we replaced their seats. Was there really is more of a want versus a need? So that was concern of my constituents because there's no controls around that in the sense of the critical infrastructure.
If I can respond to that. Brian, this board discussed that last year, and it was approved by the board to do that.
This board did?
Yep.
I don't remember.
It was on the CIP items, and we talked about the equity because we built fields.
Yeah.
And I remember Kevin saying to everybody, let's get out on that turf field that we have, or, see what it would look like. And we thought that we needed to have equity within the school system for theater and dance, or for others. And for the theater specifically, it's been my soapbox item to say, we should be teaching in there as well, not just theater. But we have Wi-Fi density in there now. You go to college,
Yeah.
you're in a class of 200. Perfect opportunity for college-bound seniors to be able to use that again.
Lauren.
Thank you. I was on CIP when we were discussing the theater, and this is why the Budget Committee also has a representative. Samantha, I believe you are our representative this last fiscal cycle. So we do have a representative there to hear their here's why it needs to be done. Bordering on policy, though, if I may say.
Thank you.
Excellent point.
All right, anything else? Okay, so Danielle, do you have anything else to add?
Just gonna go to the next meeting then?
Let's do some procedure. Yep. I said no over text, but that was in the heat
No, I
of
was
the
just
moment.
wanted to point out, so at the bottom of your agenda, you have next meeting dates that are coming up. So January 9th, the public hearing is at 6 PM here in this room for the committee, but if there is a snow
Are you,
date.
hold on.
Yeah.
Are we able to get the theater? The only reason I ask is because there have been hundreds of, like I think last year I was chair. There were at least
Not
100
at,
people
not
there.
at the
I've-
public hearing, but at the deliberative session, but I can certainly check.
No, last year, maybe I wasn't there, I don't know.
You were there. She was the chair. We
How
were sitting
many-
in the front. It was a lot of people there.
A lot of people.
We were up
So
on
if the theater is available, we'd prefer the theater.
Move the venue.
I can check on that and coordinate with the schools if
I
it's
think Scott's
available.
listening too.
Scott's listening, so I'm sure he'll get
Scott
that
will
in
send
there.
me a text.
Yeah. I know that in the past, historically, the public hearing has actually only had maybe a handful of public attendees for this group. I think you're recalling the deliberative session, which is the February session. But I can certainly check on that for the next meeting.
We've had public hearings in the theater before.
So the snow date for that public hearing on the 9th, the snow date is January the 11th, and I just wanted to note that there's been a venue change because of double booking. So if we do have to use the snow date, the location will be Mountain View Middle School. And then the 2 deliberative sessions are listed there. The select board had a change in their date. The deliberative session will be Saturday, February 3rd, and that's occurring at 10 a.m. at the high school auditorium, the theater. And there's a snow date of Tuesday, February 6th at 7 p.m. And then Monday, February 5th at 7 p.m. in the high school theater is the deliberative session for the school with a snow date of Wednesday the 7th. So I just wanted to point those out because there's been a few date and time and location changes from what had been previously discussed.
Samantha?
So I don't make the same mistake I did last year. We're supposed to go to both, right?
The budget committee will not be active participants as a committee in the deliberative session, but we are members of the public, and I encourage you all to attend. You are allowed to vote as a member of the public in deliberative.
So do we go, so which one?
The public hearing you should definitely be at, because that is when
Right, so we
the committee
definitely
will be
go to-
making recommendations that will go on the ballot.
Well, at the deliberative session, you should be there also.
Yes.
Because articles, money articles can change at the deliberative session, and then the budget committee needs to take a vote on those changes in the articles. So
If there's a
yes,
change.
you have to be at
Make
both.
sure we have a quorum.
Okay,
Well, public notice.
I went to both last year.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we're going to have public notices for the deliberative session in case if we do have a forum that shows up, so we'll be covered by that.
Yeah.
Yes, the public notices will be posted for the budget committee meeting to immediately follow the deliberative sessions. And in the past, we've had, when there's a change, we have the chair call a meeting right in one portion of the room, wherever we can locate enough space. And we take minutes for that.
And the select board will do the same thing.
Thank you, dear.
Anything else? Lauren?
Motion to adjourn?
I love that motion. Motion by Lauren to adjourn, second by Stacy. Discussion, no? All those in favor?
Aye.
We're unanimous. Thank you.